Every day, I dragged the school beauty into this dark alley to beat her. But she never fought back because I, the local bully, forced her to date me, and she would honestly rather die than submit. So, I hired thugs to beat her daily, planning to keep going until she finally said yes. By the time I finished downloading this trash bully's memories, Seraphina had already been taking a beating for half an hour. Suddenly, the system chimed in. If you do not go save her right now, the original male lead will show up and everything is over. See, my past life ended because I slipped and died from using too many tissues. Quite a pathetic way to go. Talk about embarrassing. But somehow I transmigrated into this novel as a villainous school bully. Absolute panic set in, so I yelled at my minions to stop. Alright, that is enough. Stop hitting her, I yelled. But she just stared at me with this pretty terrifying glare. Can you believe this? System says her affection is 90. As it turns out, the girl in front of me is the ultimate villain of this story. Once her affection level hits 100, she will literally end my life. Panicking, I crouched down, pulled out a tissue, and gently wiped her dirt-covered but gorgeous face. I muttered, pretending to be annoyed. I told those idiots not to hit her face. What is going on here? But Seraphina was no fool. She knew I was playing a cheap game. And then, that dreaded system chime rang out. Affection level, 91. I was literally tap dancing on the edge of a very sharp knife here. I quickly shooed all my minions away, telling them to leave her to me. Ding. Affection level 92. The affection level just kept dropping. A massive wave of pure terror washed over me. Was she already planning my murder right at this very moment? I squeezed the tissue in my hand, absolutely terrified to make a single sound. I just watched as Seraphina silently pushed herself up from the cold ground. She grabbed her kicked-aside backpack and limped painfully toward the exit. I took 2 fast steps to catch up, and she stopped in her tracks immediately. Her voice dripped with pure disgust. What else do you want? I tentatively tugged at her sleeve. The pitiful puppy dog look on my face was 100% real because I was absolutely terrified of her. She just spat out a cold, "Get lost," and kept walking when I tried apologizing. But I relentlessly blocked her path, begging her to give me a chance to make up for my sins. Are you trying some emotional manipulation now? Caspian, do you not find yourself completely disgusting? If you actually want to make amends, then disappear from my sight forever. Her eyes burned with pure, unmasked hatred. Just as I opened my mouth, I spotted a few guys charging toward us aggressively from a distance. And look who it is, the official male lead just entered the chat to ruin my day. Caspian, why are you bullying people again? He shouted. Naturally, I snapped back, telling him to mind his own business. Affection level 95. Gritting my teeth at the system prompt, I whipped my head to look at the completely expressionless Seraphina. Alaric choked on his aggressive retort, his entire face turning completely red. Terrified that I might do something to Seraphina, he immediately shoved himself between us like a pretty dramatic meat shield. He barked that whatever happened between us, as long as he was here, I should not even think about hurting her. Affection level 97, 98, 99. Shut up, I screamed inside, losing my mind at both the system and the endlessly annoying Alaric. It is my first time challenging an S-rank mission, and I bump into a literal wolf in sheep's clothing like her. Talk about terrible luck. Worst case scenario, the mission fails and I restart. It is just getting chopped into 8 pieces by her next month, right? Thinking of this, I completely hardened my heart and decided to just drop all the pretenses. I grabbed Alaric by his collar, hoisted him up, and shoved him aside with a cold sneer, asking if it was any of his business. Bullying her is completely my business, and honestly, I am going to keep doing it for her entire life, since you do not even go to our school. I beat her up at school, so what are you going to do? Anyone can talk big. Well, let me tell you, from now on, as long as I am around, nobody touches a single hair on her head, Alaric yelled back. The moment he said those words, Seraphina's affection level officially plummeted straight into the deepest abyss. I shot a sideways glance at Seraphina, completely ignoring whatever she was thinking, grabbed her arm, and dragged her away. Alaric, panting heavily, blocked our path again, demanding to know what I wanted in order to let her go. I want to let her go. Really, I do. But the system won't allow it. So I snarled, keep dreaming. If I die, she goes down with me. Then I roughly shoved Alaric, sending him crashing onto the pavement with a thud. Seraphina froze. She tried desperately to yank her arm free, but I just held on tight, flashing a pretty chilling smile. I leaned in, whispering a menacing question, do you actually like him? Seraphina went rigid. My dad's company partners with his family's business. But you know, they are tiny. My dad could easily crush them with one single phone call. If you want him to suffer terrible luck because of you, then feel free to refuse to come with me. In that split second, Seraphina glared like she wanted me to drop dead. I asked if we were moving, then called my driver once we were out of sight. She stood there clutching her worn-out backpack, quietly asking if she could finally leave. No way. You do not know what is good for you, and surely you do not want innocent people getting hurt, right? So, you had better be a good, obedient girl. She snapped back, asking how I could be so cruel when she barely knows him. She asked who I was trying to scare, so I raised an eyebrow and threatened to call my dad. I told her I had found Al Eric to be an eyesore for a while anyway. Seeing my phone, she panicked and grabbed my hand. She was trembling all over. "What on earth do you want?" she cried. "And why do you insist on pestering me like this? You just like me for my face, do you not?" Suddenly, like someone possessed, she raised her hands and wildly tried to claw her own face. I rushed forward, barely managing to block her. She shoved me away violently. "If I destroy my face, will you let me go?" I frowned, asking what if I liked her for who she is. "Are you going to end your life next?" She just stared at me in silence for a few seconds before speaking. "If that is what you want," she muttered. I grabbed her hand in an iron grip, warning her that if she dies, I will go after her mother. Her mother was her absolute biggest weakness. That threat made her legs buckle. She almost dropped right there, begging me to please stop this absolute madness. My driver pulled up. My stomach twisted with guilt, but I kept my face as cold as a block of ice. Hiding my real feelings, I roughly shoved Seraphina into the back seat and squeezed in right after her. I ordered the driver to head to Jangchong Hospital immediately. Seraphina did not make a single sound the entire ride. I rubbed my chin, realizing the things I just said made me a pretty terrible villain, but honestly, I had no choice. If my target actually dies, the system flags it as a total failure, and my mind gets completely erased. I asked the system if I was dead meat, and it said yes. It told me I have 1 month left to work harder, but I honestly do not want to. I just want to chill out like a salted fish. Why do I have to clean up this original body's absolute mess? After handing her to my doctor, I sat down on a hallway bench, staring blankly at her worn backpack. Heaven knows how long she has owned it. The bottom even has messy, visible stitch marks from being patched up. Honestly, her life is a total tragedy. Her father abandoned his first wife for money, marrying some rich heiress. At the time, his wife was already pregnant, leaving her to struggle completely alone to raise Seraphina. When Seraphina grew up, they moved to Jangchong, desperately hoping for a clean, fresh start, only to run straight into a complete monster like me. A moment later, my private doctor, Dr. Thorne, walked up. I was worried those guys had broken something, so Dr. Thorne gave her a full, pretty comprehensive exam. Seeing his unusually grave expression, I knew things were bad. He told me she has a ton of injuries, both old and new. She even had broken ribs before that, clearly never healed up properly. Her body is in terrible shape, incredibly weak. He asked whose kid she was, and if they even fed her. Her stomach is completely ruined. I listened in absolute silence, not daring to say a word as he asked about her injuries. He asked if she was my classmate, so I thanked him and asked if I could take her. He said she needs an IV first. The drip will take an hour. He told me he knows my family issues have been tough, but urged me not to keep acting out. The big college entrance exams are coming up soon. He told me to keep my chin up, and I agreed. The sky was pitch black by the time I walked back with some hot porridge. Inside, Seraphina was sitting up in bed with the IV needle still in her arm. With bandages plastered all over her forehead and the corner of her swollen eye, she actually looks somewhat comical. Cautiously shuffling over, I sit right beside her hospital bed and finally speak. "I thought about it today and it was my fault. I really know I was wrong. I just wanted you to look at me a bit more. But I genuinely cannot find a single way to sugarcoat all the disgusting things the original host did." I scratch my head in frustration. "Forget it, I give up trying to explain. The doctor said your stomach is in bad shape, so drink some porridge." Hearing that, Seraphina actually lets out a quiet laugh. "Is this the classic slap and sweet date routine?" she asks. "Do you seriously expect me to feel grateful to you? Just consider it a sudden miracle of conscience. You have every right to hate me, so please just keep hating me." Let's be honest, she doesn't show a single shred of pity just because of my little emotional speech. "I won't let anyone hurt you again. I know you want me gone, but can we maybe negotiate a tiny little deal?" Testing the waters, I quietly ask. "If you truly decide to kill me later, could you please use a gentler method? I am really pretty scared of pain." The novel didn't detail the exact process of my death, but looking at the ending was enough to know how gruesome it was. Seraphina would find pure sadistic pleasure in torturing me, pushing her completely down a path of absolute ruin. This mission is honestly ridiculous. Seraphina turns her head away, muttering that she doesn't understand a single word. I scratch my head. "Oh, She doesn't understand. Yeah, right, that's fine. Even though I knew she was definitely faking, I still had to commit to the bit. She didn't touch that porridge. Once the nurse removes her she walks straight out of the room. I trail right behind her. Seeing her heading to the main road to walk home, I stop and offer her a ride, but she refuses. She says she can take the bus, pulling out two wrinkled, crumpled $1 bills. I want to say something else, but remembering the sheer unyielding pride deep in her bones, I clamp my mouth shut immediately. I stubbornly insist on staying by her side, telling her I'm coming along. Truth be told, back in the day, she actually harbored a tiny sliver of a good impression. Whenever she thinks about that fact, she despises herself. Back when she first transferred here, she didn't even have a school uniform. The clothes on her back were washed so many times they looked practically white. Practically radiating poverty. Our school was the best in Jiangchong City, naturally filled with wealthy, powerful elite kids. She had nothing to show off, and transferring midway meant being dumped in the absolute worst class. This class was practically the headquarters for all the lazy, spoiled rich kids. While everyone mocked her, I was the only one who walked up with a bright smile to strike up a conversation. At the time, she naively thought it was a smile of pure kindness. Little did she know, it was all a trap. Staring at me for a long time, she asks what exactly happens after she becomes my girlfriend. What exactly are you trying to get from me? She whispers, unexpectedly pressing close and narrowing the gap between us. If she had a knife right now, she could easily slice my throat open without a single second thought. I rub my nose, telling her with deep concern that I don't want to get anything from her. Besides her sickly body and pretty face, she truly possesses absolutely nothing. Seraphina lets out a cold, sarcastic chuckle. So you just want to use me for your own amusement. Save the fake sympathy and these useless routines. You want me to be your girlfriend? Fine. Hearing that, I think I'm hallucinating. Right then, the bus slowly pulls up to the stop. Seraphina lifts her foot and steps on board. I hesitate for a second, then unsurely follow her up, asking in a quiet voice what she just said. Even though asking this completely breaks my bad boy character, I am absolutely desperate for a real confirmation. Seraphina pulls at the corners of her mouth, whispering that I've already got her. Whatever I want, she'll do. She deliberately sits in a single seat near the front. With no empty seats nearby, I simply stand right next to her. Wait, something's seriously off. Does this villain actually have some affection points for me now? Villain affection level is at 100. Hearing this absolutely terrifying answer, I furrow my brows in worry. Checking her inner thoughts requires 100 points. And all mine were already drained for this S-rank mission. Talk about a massive downfall. What does it actually feel like to date your absolute worst enemy? I watched Seraphina limp toward her incredibly run-down apartment building, and honestly, it just felt pretty depressing. Just one sentence from her completely wrecked the original storyline. I was totally panicked and lost. But gritting my teeth, I chased after her. Hey, I was basically a dead man anyway. Didn't you say you'd rather die than date me? Why the sudden change of heart? Seraphina just gave me this ice-cold glare, ignored me, and kept walking. Panic set in as I tried to fix things. Then, out of nowhere, she shoves me hard against a lamp pole, asking what I actually want from her. You said you wanted me as a girlfriend, and I said yes. What else do you want, Caspian? She says she is absolutely sick of me. I just frown, looking down at her with genuine discomfort. Seraphina never even tried to hide her absolute disgust. But seeing my rare, conflicted expression, she suddenly seemed completely lost on what to do next. Releasing her grip, she looks away and mutters that she only has one wish left, promising she'll compensate me later. With that, she walks off. All she really wants is to stop her overworked mother from worrying about her so much. But guess what? Life is never that simple. Walking through the door, she sees her mom doing cross-stitch under a dim light. Her mother looks up, asking if she got into another fight. Seraphina just keeps her mouth shut and looks down. Her mother checks her injuries, her heart breaking at the sight of them. But she cannot promise anything big, only offering a weak, quiet whisper. What are we going to do? Tomorrow, I will speak to your teachers. Remember, the college entrance exams are right around the corner. You cannot keep living like this. Hearing that, Seraphina claims she can handle it, while her mother asks another tough question. Seraphina, do you actually hate me? She replies that her mother is overthinking, saying she is just going to study now. Mother Sue lets out a deep sigh. If you are hungry, heat up the food in the kitchen. I am still a bit busy. Seraphina stops for a second, but says nothing. And she does not actually start on her schoolwork. Instead, she reaches into her desk drawer and pulls out a sharp dagger. This weapon represents her humiliation and her deep drive to climb higher. Back in the day, her mother was a true beauty. Other children used to envy her for having such a gorgeous mom, That was right when she started elementary school. She walked inside only to see a local thug forcing himself on her mother. She screamed, cried, and fought with everything she had, eventually kneeling to beg for mercy. The arrogant thug simply tossed this knife to her and walked out. "You are not ready yet, kid. If you ever want to kill me, use this weapon." Seraphina stares down at the weapon with cold, empty eyes before quietly packing it into her school bag. She had absolutely suffered enough. Meanwhile, I was just lounging comfortably on my massive, super expensive bed. Being transmigrated as a rich kid definitely had major perks. Sure, my dad ignored me and mom was gone, but I had access to unlimited cash. And just like that, a loud warning alarm suddenly jolts me awake. A system warning alerts me that the target's affection level has dropped past rock bottom. A critical plot item has appeared, warning the host that the original story is officially derailing. Now, I knew a decent amount about the main plot. Whenever things do not align with the established world settings, the plot completely splits from the system script. Meaning, brand new, unscripted events are coming. Major events that would completely alter her entire life. Just when I thought things were quiet, the main target is already out here starting real trouble. Right then, the system projects a holographic display. It displays the critical item, a fully drawn, dangerous-looking dagger, and right above it is a nice little warning label. Apparently, it is a primary weapon used to murder me. Since it is active, my expiration date just got moved way up. I rip at my hair in complete frustration. I knew it felt incredibly shady when she suddenly agreed to be my girlfriend. Turns out, she simply reached her absolute limit and is trying to lower my guard to deliver a fatal, one-hit strike. I stay awake all night, worrying in complete misery, searching for some way to please this dangerous girl and survive a bit longer. Fueled by survival instincts, I go ahead and buy a breakfast meant for 2 people. Senior year of high school was brutal, with mandatory study sessions starting at exactly 6:30 a.m. And Seraphina was an elite student. But she felt too guilty asking her struggling mom for money, so she had skipped breakfast for 3 straight years of high school. That is why I was banking entirely on my warmth and care strategy. It was a total Hail Mary. As a certified slacker, I had never once shown up for a morning study session. The second I swaggered through the door, my classmates stared at me like I was some kind of alien. Seraphina did not even look up at the noise. She just sat slouched in the back, furiously writing practice exams. Walking past her, I pulled out the breakfast bag and shoved it straight into her desk drawer. After that, I took a seat exactly 3 rows ahead of her. Frowning, Seraphina looked down at the steaming soy milk, radiating a sweet, rich aroma. She carefully peeled off a little sticky note that was attached to the plastic bag. Written in my absolutely terrible, messy handwriting was a note telling my girlfriend to eat her breakfast properly. Without hesitation, Seraphina tossed my little note straight into the trash. She had not even been hungry, but catching a whiff of that amazing aroma made her empty stomach growl loudly. Years of starving and overeating had ruined her stomach, which was now cramping with sharp pain. Looking up, she saw me laughing loudly with my usual group of delinquent friends. Finally giving in to her hunger, she ducked her head to hide from watchful eyes and took a quick sip of the warm milk. It was sweet, mixed with peanuts and sugar. It tasted amazing. Yes, she actually ate it. But when I checked the system, her affection level was still -100. Are you kidding me? She eats my food and still hates me this much. Forget it, I am done checking. Just mute that function. Affection levels do not even matter anymore. Let us just leave it all to fate. Showing crazy self-control, Seraphina only ate a single bun. She hid the other 2 in her desk, wanting to bring them home for her mom. Right then, I grabbed my heavy backpack and made my way over to her. Seraphina froze instantly, watching in tense silence as I pulled out the chair and sat down right next to her. I smoothed out a completely blank test paper on her desk, looking at her with wide, hopeful eyes. Smiling warmly, I asked if I could copy her homework, but she just scoffed, reminding me I never did any. I teased that she must be paying attention to me, but she just mocked me in disbelief. Everyone knows you fail everything because you never turn in work. Your credits are basically below 0 at this point. Without my rich dad, I would have been expelled ages ago. My mouth twitched in pure defeat. Fine, if she won't let me copy, I will just write it myself. I stared intensely at the blank sheet with a dead serious face, looking totally determined. Honestly, she seemed pretty surprised by this. She had mocked me like this before, but back then, the old me would have grabbed her hair and spit insults. I used to brag about my rich dad while calling her a penniless beggar who had to study to survive. Now, I just stared at the math paper and bubbled in whatever random letters looked best to me. And for the tough written questions, I just scribbled down completely random numbers. While others struggled for an hour, I finished my masterpiece in exactly 5 minutes, making her frown deeply. Of course, every single answer was wrong. Catching her sneaking a peek, I raised an eyebrow, looking pretty proud of myself. I bragged about my insane speed, telling her that homework really was not even that hard. Once the morning study session ended, I unpacked a second breakfast identical to hers right onto my own desk. Seraphina literally could not look away from it. A second later, I waved a warm steamed bun right in front of her face, telling her to help me finish it. Before she could protest, I shoved the bun right into her mouth and rested my chin on my hands, watching her chew blankly. Honestly, if she was not a literal future serial killer, she would actually be pretty fun to tease. She ate so elegantly too. Behind that scary future, she was actually a pretty good person, right? Suddenly, a girl wearing a messy uniform strolled up, asking why I was at school so early. Beatrix glared at Seraphina, who immediately looked down and frowned, before asking why I was sitting next to her. She asked if it was dirty, making my heart drop. Before Seraphina could react to the insult, I shot back defensively. No way is it dirty. And even if it was, I would just wipe it down myself. Beatrix just laughed, telling me to hurry up and rejoin their group once I got bored of playing around. She slid some milk tea with pudding my way, and out of pure habit, I muttered thanks. Beatrix raised an eyebrow, looking pretty surprised. She asked if my brain was broken, or if I was just stupid. You were the one with the problem, cursing people out for no reason. But Beatrix did not even bother arguing with me. She told me to come test drive her new motorcycle, but I aggressively shook my head, pushing Beatrix's milk tea back toward her. Lying through my teeth, I said I was going to study hard with my girlfriend. She asked if I took the wrong meds this morning. Beatrix's patience finally snapped. Stop messing around and just hurry up. The teacher will be here soon and we cannot skip class. I told her I was really not messing around and was turning over a new leaf. Since my girlfriend is great at studying, I am going to get into the same university. Beatrix scoffed, telling Caspian to stop joking around. Girlfriend? She is nothing more than a plaything and you know it. Is she even worthy? You just sent people to corner her yesterday, and now you play the good guy. Enough of this. Let's go. Listening to her run her mouth like a broken record made my left eyelid twitch furiously. Just look at that. A mocking, sinister smile had already crept onto Seraphina's mouth. I felt like my head was about to explode. She is not a plaything. I genuinely consider her my girlfriend. I am dead serious, and I will not hang out with you guys anymore. Cornering her yesterday was my fault, but I have changed. From today onwards, none of you are allowed to cause trouble for her. Hearing me speak with such absolute seriousness, Beatrix's eyes darkened. Caspian, you really are something else. Others might not know, but I know exactly what kind of trash you are. She turned her glare towards Seraphina, reaching out to pat her desk. What did you say to him? She demanded, while Seraphina coldly shot back, asking if she was obligated to answer just because of a question. Beatrix sneered back, asking if she had some kind of death wish. Beatrix violently grabbed Seraphina by her collar. The regular students around us immediately held their breath, absolutely terrified to make a single sound. Meanwhile, the classroom troublemakers were already moving desks and chairs out of the way, eager to get front row seats for the upcoming drama. In the next second, I slammed my hand down hard on Beatrix's arm, telling her to let her go. Beatrix had never seen me look like this before, realizing I was genuinely furious. What the hell is this? She demanded. You brag to me every day about tricking Seraphina into becoming your obedient lapdog, and now you are turning against me for her? I pulled Seraphina behind my back to shield her, stating it had absolutely nothing to do with her. I did everything voluntarily. Beatrix's face turned completely dark, and with a cold sneer, she viciously kicked a heavy desk. Ouch, you can practically feel that. The desk slammed into my waist, making me gasp for air. Beatrix did not go out to play anymore, sitting down quite close. One of my minions muttered that I was acting super weird today. The other lackeys, who usually followed me like lost puppies, quickly agreed. You think? I hissed in response. I hissed, feeling like my waist was being sawed completely in half. Through heavily gritted teeth, I told them all to get lost. Only after everyone had finally backed off did I carefully sit down in my chair, clutching my throbbing waist. I lifted my uniform shirt, only to find the area struck by the desk was already blooming with angry red bruises. She hits way too damn hard. Seraphina, who had been closely watching my every move, saw this. Her body involuntarily tensed up while my hand kept gently rubbing my side. Seraphina's expression shifted unpredictably. You totally deserve it, she muttered. If I let my natural personality take over, I would have picked a fight with her right then. Why do you even care about this kind of stuff? I shot back with wide eyes. She was going to hit you, I pointed out, but she replied it would not be her first time. As she said this, she kept her eyes fixed intensely on me. Feeling incredibly guilty, A deep red blush flushed across my face. I stubbornly retorted that I said it yesterday. You are only allowed to be bullied by me, so them hitting you is unacceptable. Then why bother falling out with your friends? She asked. I bit my lip, admitting I just did not like what they said. You used to say those exact same things all the time. Two peas in a pod. Every single sentence out of her mouth hit harder than the last. The worst part was, I literally could not argue with a single word. I mumbled that I was not like them anymore, genuinely planning to turn over a new leaf. Then she muttered that Beatrix was right. You really should get your brain checked. I snapped back, asking how she could say that when I was being nice and she was acting all high and mighty. Seraphina turned her head to look out the window, murmuring that this felt a bit more normal. You are the one who is sick, I cursed under my breath, feeling incredibly frustrated. I soon realized that outside of this little drama, classes were incredibly mundane. The teachers did not care where I sat or what I was doing. I was not going to learn anyway. As long as I kept quiet and did not make a scene, the teachers completely ignored Seraphina sitting right next to me. Totally bored, I slumped over my desk and drifted off, until some sudden noise shook the classroom. I forced my heavy eyes open and looked around. It was search day. These random bag checks in our classroom were always brutal. If they caught you with phones, novels, or weapons, your parents were getting called right away. Back then, I literally did not care. Even if I handed my phone over, no teacher had the guts to take it. I had nothing to hide anyway. So when the inspectors walked in for the surprise check, I stood up and waited. But when I glanced over, Seraphina was sitting completely frozen. I tapped her shoulder, but she did not budge. Up close, I could see her face was totally pale. The inspector reached the back row. I handed my backpack over. After a quick glance through my stuff, the teacher reached right over and grabbed Seraphina's bag from her chair. Immediately, a sharp question cut through the room. What is this? Seraphina just sat there, blank. Our homeroom teacher hurried over to defuse the situation, but the moment she saw the item, she froze in absolute shock. Why would you bring this to school, and what is your name? Hearing the rapid questions, I suddenly realized, and here is where the story takes a massive, unexpected turn. For a spoiled rich kid like me, hiding this is easy. But since they caught Seraphina, she was looking at immediate, permanent expulsion. She did not say a single word about why she had it. The teacher was getting furious. Seeing her stay completely silent after only giving her name, I slammed my hands down and stood straight up. Wait! I shouted at the inspector. Is there an issue? Yes, there is. I glanced over at Seraphina. She looked utterly terrified, like she had already given up on surviving this. I took a deep, steady breath. Her knife? She knew nothing about it. I put it in her bag myself. Yes. Our guy is actually taking the fall. What was I saying? I had zero choice. If she got kicked out of school today, my entire survival mission would be thrown into total chaos. Both of you, get to the office right now. Walking next to Seraphina, I leaned in and whispered fast. When they question us, just keep saying you had no idea. Understand? I put it in there myself. Seraphina snapped back, completely furious. Stop talking crazy, she told me. You are going to get expelled. She refused to play along. I grabbed her uniform to argue, but the teacher caught us whispering and lost her mind. No secret schemes in front of me. Start talking. What actually happened? Terrified she would tell the truth, I cut her off instantly and repeated my story from the classroom. I hid it there. The teacher did not believe me, demanding a motive. I said I wanted to threaten her. The teacher scowled. My toxic reputation was famous schoolwide, but she knew Seraphina was a good kid who stood for justice. Caspian, you have got some serious nerve threatening a classmate. What were you trying to make her do? I froze for a second, then forced a fake, embarrassed mumble. I wanted her to be my girlfriend. Hearing this, the teacher did not even bother questioning Seraphina. Believing she was completely innocent, the teacher sent Seraphina straight back to our classroom. Then she absolutely lost it, screaming and calling me the lowest kind of scum, a totally shameless trash student. My father was called to school immediately. Without a word, he slapped my face so hard it immediately started swelling up, screaming about my bullying and the weapon. Today I drag you out of school. Tomorrow, is it jail? I have spoiled you way too much, making you think you are above the law. I spat a mouthful of blood onto the floor. Spoiled? You never raised me. When did you ever care? What kind of garbage are you saying? My dad was absolutely losing his mind. I stood tall and yelled back. Am I wrong? You spend every day running after that homewrecker who drove my real mother to her death. Ara is too busy coddling her cheap kid. Who even knows if he is yours? You never had time for me. Tell me, how many times have you actually seen me over the last 2 years? Do you even know my classroom? My dad raised his hand to hit me again. Go ahead. Beat me to death right here. Send me to the grave so my mother can see exactly what kind of monster you turned out to be. With the office battlefield turning into total chaos, our teacher suddenly jumped in to play peacemaker and shoved me right out the door. I just stood there hanging my head, tears dripping onto the cold floor. I was not crying because of sadness. It just hurt like hell. Suddenly, a dark shadow loomed over me. Looking up, I realized Seraphina had never actually left my side. Quickly brushing my tears away, I asked why she was still standing here. Sure, my dad had just completely ruined my day, but I refused to lose my edge around Seraphina. Did she really think confessing to the teacher would get her expelled just to escape me? Yeah, not happening. She can forget about leaving my side. Don't even dream about it. A tiny, almost invisible smile suddenly drifted across Seraphina's gorgeous face. I just stared at her, totally spacing out. Her voice turned incredibly soft as she gently reached out with her left hand. You look really ugly when you cry. Get ready for this right after that. In class, I hit a massive, terrifying crisis. My bank cards were completely frozen. Every single cent of my money was gone, leaving me face down on my desk with my lips trembling. Right then, I probably looked like the most tragically wronged victim in the entire universe. Seraphina looked completely thrown off, even starting to wonder if she was the monster who made me look this pathetic. Out of options, I listed my luxury villa on a real estate site. By lunchtime, the rest of the students headed out to eat. Since I had totally angered Beatrix and my digital wallet could only keep me fed for a couple of days, I really hated the idea of eating all by myself. So, I naturally stalked behind Seraphina like some pathetic, lost puppy. Annoyed by my shadowing, Seraphina snapped at me. Why are you following me? I just want to eat lunch with my girlfriend, okay? She pressed her lips thin. I mumbled that I was starving, but Seraphina completely ignored me and bought a cheap, $2 plain bun. Her mom gave her $10 every day, but she wanted to save every single penny. Seeing her actually preparing to chew on that dry, sad lump of bread left me stunned. I quickly reached out and snatched her hand. Tightening my grip on her wrist, I ignored her irritated glare. Caspian, what are you doing? We are eating. With that, I dragged her off to a spicy hot pot place, but I absolutely never expected to cross paths with Alaric of all people. Seraphina, you came here to eat too? He stared directly at the fresh bandages on her face, frowning deeply. Caspian is honestly absolute trash. How could he do this to you? Are you okay? Did he torment you again last night? Since I was standing right there, hearing this guy trash talk me to my face made me glide over to them like an angry ghost. Hey, what exactly are you whispering to my girlfriend behind my back? Caught red-handed, Alaric's face turned pretty ugly. I scoffed. And why are you calling her so intimately by her first name anyway? Are you two even close? Fuming, I slammed a bowl of seaweed onto the counter and grabbed Seraphina with one hand. I tossed down the cash and turned to leave. Since we completely ignored him, Alaric chased after us, shouting my name. Why do you insist on making her life a total nightmare? She is already miserable enough, so just leave her alone. Hearing that made me smirk. I knew for a fact that Seraphina absolutely despised anyone calling her a pity case. You can bet I absolutely loved this sudden golden opportunity. Pitiful? I never once saw her that way. And as for tormenting her, you are totally overthinking it. We are legitimately dating, aren't we, sweetie? Then I slid my hand right down her slender arm, firmly interlocking our fingers together. Snorting coldly, I dragged her off to find a table. While waiting for our order to arrive, I demanded that she split her bun with me. Seraphina frowned, asking why. I argued that since I was treating her to a whole meal, she should at least share that cheap bread. Seriously, she could not even spare a single bite. Seraphina used to think the old Caspian was just a massive jerk, but looking at me now, she realized I was an absolute astronomical level clown. I scoffed that I never asked for a free feast. You are just way too stingy to share. Admit it. Seraphina was completely defenseless against my pure, shameless attitude. She threw the bread right at me. I split it perfectly down the middle, giving half back. Just then, the cook yelled that our food was ready. Checking our ticket, I quickly jogged over to grab the heavy tray. All the while, Seraphina kept her eyes locked onto me. Her teeth felt a bit sour. Honestly, the old me was always so incredibly easy to read. I used to be an arrogant, domineering jerk who did not care about anyone else. But the current me seemed to have experienced a major awakening, almost like I was radiating some strange, warm light. I carefully wobbled back over to our table, balancing a massive, steaming hot bowl of spicy hot pot. Instead of instantly stuffing my face, I grabbed a clean ladle and scooped a small bowl of broth for her. Dip the vegetables in here, so they cool down faster. Immediately, the rich, savory aroma of delicious sesame paste wafted up from the hot bowl. Since Seraphina still hadn't picked up her chopsticks, I started piling meatballs right into her bowl myself. Then I forcefully shoved chopsticks into her hand. Eat. It is called basic politeness. I ate your bread earlier, so now you must eat my food. Hurry up, we have classes right after this. Her hand trembled slightly as she held them, telling me I did not have to be so nice. She even claimed she would never like me back, fully expecting me to completely lose my mind over her words. But I just paused for a second and gave her a bright smile. It is fine, I will just work harder. She said she would never date me, yet here we are. This huge lunch cost me over $30. Eating until she was completely full, I quickly wiped my mouth. We still have 30 minutes left. Time to head back to school. She nodded, but as we passed Eric's table, he suddenly grabbed her by the arm. He let go before I could even snap, but I still couldn't tolerate even a tiny bit of this. Flirting with my girl right in front of my face? Absolutely unacceptable. To a reader, Eric might look like some heroic savior, but to me, he is just a colossal idiot. He is not even going to end up with her, so why is he trying so hard to chat her up? My harsh words made his face turn bright red, and he demanded to know what I meant. I just laughed, grabbing my girl's hand. He sneered that I forced her, claiming she was not really my girl. I was completely baffled by him. Why keep bringing up ancient history? He is making me look like the bad guy. Sire. Furious, I snatched up a nearby chair and roared, asking the punk if he was tired of living. Watching me take such an aggressive stance, the surreal feeling Seraphina had been experiencing slowly melted into cold reality. With the restaurant owner panicking, and other students staring right at us, Seraphina grabbed my arm, her voice taking on a desperate, pleading tone. She begged me not to make a scene. Hearing that, I froze, set the chair down, and nodded like crazy. All right, no trouble, let's just go. But the moment we stepped outside, she let go, leaving my heart hammering like a drum. Seriously, who could resist that? Before this, she only ever talked to me with cold, passive-aggressive remarks. Who knew that her just speaking to me normally would actually be this incredibly effective? Seraphina walked down the street, looking completely conflicted. Earlier, when that punk grabbed her arm, he had secretly slipped a note into her hand. Thank goodness I did not see it. Otherwise, that entire restaurant would have been reduced to rubble today. Sitting right behind Seraphina, my quiet snores echoing through the classroom somehow reminded her of a stray cat she rescued as a kid. Talk about losing your mind. She was going crazy, while I was groggily waking up right at dismissal time. Stretching lazily, the physics teacher caught me and barked out, "Caspian, stand up and explain this problem to the class." I stumbled to my feet, stuttering as I stared down at my textbook, which was literally soaked in my own drool. The teacher gave me a knowing look, telling me to just keep standing if I could not explain the answer. I scratched my head and slumped my shoulders in defeat, while Beatrix, of course, was an expert at kicking people when they were down. She turned around with a mocking laugh. I used to share a desk with her, only moving over here to try and get closer to Seraphina. But now that our connection was completely shattered, I was basically left like an orphan in this classroom. To make things worse, Seraphina was totally ignoring me, leaving me staring blankly out the classroom window. Seraphina looked at me, let out a soft sigh, and asked her girlfriend what they were having for dinner, admitting she did not even want to eat. I knew she would say that, but her friend insisted that she wanted to eat and demanded her company. My bank cards were frozen, my personal driver was reassigned, and I was reduced to taking the public bus all alone. I was even getting ready to sell my house, and after the agent inspected it, they hooked me up with a few interested buyers. If all the paperwork actually went through fast, today was going to be my absolute last day living in this grand villa. It was pretty tough letting it go, but there was no way I was bowing down to my old man. The place sold for $3 million. And here's the best part: the buyer turned out to be the Xiao family's ultimate nemesis. I signed that contract without blinking. I knew my dad would buy it back anyway. His pride is too massive to let people gossip that his own son had to sell his house. Armed with all that fresh cash, I immediately rented an apartment right near Seraphina, literally in the exact same building. I didn't dare mention it to her, though. One wrong move and this whole mission would completely fall apart. Day after day, I secretly brought her breakfast and made sure we ate 3 full meals together, never skipping a single day. Seraphina actually went along with it, never complaining once, and her cold attitude toward me started to soften quite a bit. One afternoon at a local diner, I decided to test the waters and casually asked her which university she was planning to apply to. She was set on Zhongcheng University, mostly because she didn't want to live too far from her mother. Without hesitating, she said Zhang Yu, majoring in computer science. Honestly, my heart completely stopped right there. No way. That absolutely could not happen because the male lead was majoring in that too. They'd end up as classmates. His legendary grades would completely crush her. which was the exact trigger point that originally pushed her into becoming a villain. I casually suggested medicine instead. Seraphina frowned instantly. She hated people questioning her choices, but I just ignored it and kept pushing that medicine is great. You get high pay, endless job offers, and solid skills. Plus, saving lives and helping people is a pretty noble path to take. Maybe it would keep her from turning evil. But she just looked at me and said she wasn't interested. She told me she was full. Honestly, she had seen through my act already, knowing I only fed her out of pity. While she appreciated the food, she knew this kindness would just end up as a sick, cruel joke. And you won't believe how dark this gets. She was totally prepared to take my life the second I messed up. Ever since she was a kid, she felt like a born butcher. Saving lives? Yeah, right. She told me to worry about my own grades instead of hers, then thanked me for dinner. Suddenly, a light bulb went off. I got this crazy idea. You are right, I said. My grades are trash. So how about this? My pitch was simple: I buy the meals, you tutor me. Seraphina stared silently, knowing we had under 2 weeks before the exams. She said it was useless. I fired back, how do we know without trying? I am actually quite smart. Smart? She laughed. You literally get dead last on every test. I just frowned and stayed quiet. Seeing my face, she actually hesitated. Thanks to me constantly feeding her lately, her life had indeed gotten a whole lot more comfortable. Her mother had heard about her making a school friend and was absolutely thrilled about it. 2 hours of evening study a day. She finally agreed. A huge grin spread across my face. No backing out now, you promised. Right then, a really weird, heavy feeling bloomed deep inside her chest. She stared right into my eyes, almost as if she was trying to look straight through into my soul. You are completely different now, she muttered. Panic shot through my scalp, but I recovered quickly, lifting my chin with pure arrogance. Of course I am, I scoffed. Who knows? After graduation, we might never even cross paths again. I am just using this quick study time to clear my conscience. Truth was, I did not know how to keep up the act. Think whatever you want, I muttered, looking completely wronged. I am leaving. Shaken up, I quickly shoved a couple more bites of food into my mouth and sprinted straight out of the diner. Since this whole thing started, I had completely ignored my old group of delinquent friends. Beatrix finally lost her temper. Spotting me acting all cozy with Seraphina again, she snapped at me while walking past. To her absolute shock, she saw I was actually studying. Is this really necessary, Caspian? You are literally just trying to get a girl. Do you actually think you're some model student now? I looked up coldly. None of your business, I snapped. Beatrix laughed harshly, mocking me about my dad kicking me out and forcing me to sell my villa. As if it's not my business when you throw money around like crazy. A single sold house won't fund you forever. Why don't you come beg me for help? I could easily put in a good word with your wealthy dad. It is way better than hanging out with that broke ghost. I slammed my hand down on the desk and stood up, furious. This girl barely had any screen time in the original story. So why the hell was she causing so much annoying drama for me now? Couldn't she see Seraphina's face darkening like a storm cloud ready to burst? I've got things to do, so I'm leaving. Seraphina had absolutely zero interest in getting dragged into the drama between Beatrix and me. Beatrix just laughed maliciously. Oh, our great scholar is busy rushing off to wash dishes or serve plates. Beatrix, do you actually have something to say to me? Let's take this outside. Beatrix was pretty annoyed by my protective, anxious behavior. Whatever weird magic was happening, we hadn't walked far when, shockingly, Seraphina actually followed us outside. Under streetlights, my face flushed red with absolute anger. Are you sick in the head, Beatrix? Beatrix's voice shoots up an octave. What does my studying with Seraphina have to do with you? You're the one who's sick. I let you play around with her. And what do? You're practically living at her house. Does this really have nothing to do with me? Did you forget our families have an arranged marriage alliance? Hearing that instantly paralyzes me with pure shock. My brain short-circuits into a tangled mess. Frantically querying my system yields absolutely zero results. Do you know what you look like right now? You look like a premium-tier stalker. Seraphina doesn't even know you rented the apartment right beneath hers. I watch you sneak around behind her every single day like a thief. It's just pathetic. Honestly, her words make me absolutely furious. But before I can even speak, I feel the blood completely drain from my face. Not far away, Seraphina is staring right at me like a ghost, her face a completely unreadable mix of emotions. Caspian, you really are a piece of work. Talk about a nightmare. I spend the whole night tossing, turning, and agonizing over what went wrong. Suddenly, a noise outside my door makes me jump like I've been electrocuted. I sit straight up and peek through the peephole. My heart completely sinks. In the dead of night, Seraphina is standing right outside my door. Panicking, I scan the room, grab a mop handle, and slowly crack the door open. First thing I see is Seraphina's ridiculously beautiful face, and I completely space out for a second. "You actually moved here," she says with pure sarcasm. I just mumble that I ran out of cash and rent is pretty cheap. Time for our tutoring session. Seraphina pushes past me into the apartment, which looks exceptionally shabby. She mumbles to herself that we didn't quite get the full 2 hours of tutoring during our evening study today. "Since you want to work hard, finish your homework first." I hesitate. Is she really just here to tutor me? Right then, she seems to realize a late-night visit to a guy's place is pretty inappropriate. "Forget it," she says. "I came at a bad time. I'll just tutor you tomorrow morning during early study." I raise an eyebrow. Yeah, right. That tutoring is definitely just an excuse. She only came to see if what Beatrix said was actually true. I try to explain, but she snaps back that there's no need. She claims she understands perfectly. I tell her I'm not stalking her, I just rented the place downstairs, but explaining only makes it sound worse. So I decide to just lean into the chaos, telling her I just wanted to be closer to her. Seraphina's voice turns absolutely freezing cold. In the next second, she violently shoves me down onto the sofa. Glaring down with mocking eyes, she sneers that two-timing and playing both sides like this makes her absolutely sick to her stomach. She thanks me for treating her well these past 2 days, but says it's unnecessary now. I try to protest. I swear I had no idea about the arranged marriage. I like you and want to be with you. She challenges me to give her a reason. You must have a reason, right? Or do you think since I have no money or power, I'm just easy to play around with? Since you have Beatrix to cover for you anyway, right? I swallow hard, totally speechless, as she warns she doesn't care about my schemes. Since you live here now, you better behave yourself and stay far away from my mother. Otherwise, with that chilling threat hanging in the air, she turns and leaves. But honestly, now that everything's out in the open, I feel way bolder. Early the next morning, I'm standing downstairs waiting with breakfast ready in my hands. The moment Seraphina walks out, she spots me. She asks what I'm doing, and I smile, saying I'm waiting for her. Since I'm caught, we might as well walk together. Ignoring me, Seraphina heads down and pulls out her pretty broken-down bicycle. With practiced ease, I hop right onto the back rack. "Let's go!" She asks if I've completely lost my shame. But hey, I haven't done anything wrong. Didn't you say you were tutoring me during morning study? We better hurry up. If you're late, everyone will see you bringing me to school. The moment she gets on, I wrap my arms right around her waist. I can instantly feel the slender curve of her warm body. This sudden warmth around her waist makes Seraphina's face burn up, even if she won't admit why. The second we reach a hidden corner at school, she literally kicks me off. She tells me she's parking the bike and to wait in class. I just pout and curl my lip. I honestly don't get why she has to be so secretive. I mean, who in school doesn't already know what's going on between us? Fine, but remember to eat your breakfast, I say. Seraphina sways slightly, pursing her lips as she gives a stiff nod. I sigh deeply. My deadline is creeping closer and closer, and I still can't tell if Seraphina genuinely cares about me or not. System, check Seraphina's affection level. Valen affection level is at 70%. I freeze in my tracks, totally torn between shock and misery. Sure, her affection is going up, but it's moving at an absolute snail's pace. I tell the system to keep this function on, pausing right at the school gate. A moment later, I spot Seraphina walking over after parking her ride. The second our eyes meet, her face lights up. The villain's affection level is 71. My smile instantly dies, replaced by pure pain. What kind of sensitive psycho is she? Your face looks terrible, she says. Are you feeling sick? We barely spend any time together lately. She doesn't want to be away from me. Ding. Affection 72. Forget this, I am leaving immediately. As I spin around to leave, Seraphina's icy voice stops me. If you want to stay near me, then let's just walk together. I seriously regret turning these system sounds back on. My mind is basically a wild roller coaster right now. I have zero clue what goes on in her head. But the second the class sees us walking in side by side, the entire room explodes with shocked whispers. They whisper in shock. Has our queen surrendered? Shut it, I snap. I am absolutely terrified that their gossip is going to tank her score again. But surprisingly, the notification system remains completely silent. Even Seraphina doesn't react. Testing her while playing my character, I yell, "What's school beauty? You should call her the boss's lady instead." The class immediately erupts in laughter. And then, right on cue, in my mind ding. Oh no. The villain's affection level drops to 68. I stare in shock as Seraphina pulls an exam paper from her bag. She asks if I finished my homework last night. I open my mouth to answer, but she already starts frowning. She sighs that I never planned on studying anyway. I frantically defend myself, swearing that I did, and hurriedly pull out my finished homework paper. This is the copied phone masterpiece I finished last night. She is stunned. You actually did this? Seraphina is completely blown away. Honestly, minus my terrible chicken scratch handwriting, the overall accuracy of my answers is incredibly high. I brag that I am not stupid. She slides over a worn notebook filled with study guides. She tells me to ask if I get stuck. I solemnly open the notebook, completely amazed by how beautiful her handwriting is. She snaps that my writing is just ugly. My mouth twitches. She's getting way too bold. If not for that 68 affection score looming over my head, we would look exactly like an intimately close, bickering couple. Should I buy a calligraphy practice book to fix this? She says I must, or I will lose points. But she pauses, tells me to never mind. She mutters, my rich family will just buy my way into an elite college anyway. I quickly tell her she doesn't know the whole story. And here's where I drop the ultimate sob story. I really hate playing the pity card, but it is my only choice. I reveal my father cheated years ago, leaving me with a half-brother just 3 months younger than me. They abandoned me. Long ago. I look down, masking my face in fake sorrow. Only months after my mom passed, my father brought his mistress and that bastard son into our house. Now they are a happy little family. There is no room left for me. I hate rich people too, I say, listening to the system go ding 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 as her affection rises. I explain that I only acted out in the past because I desperately wanted my father to notice me. But it failed. He only hated me more. Now, I refuse to beg for his love. After all, he is the real reason my mother is gone. I force my eyes to water, letting a single dramatic tear cling to my eyelashes like a professional actor. This breaks her. The villain's affection level jumps to 61, as my tragic tale strikes a chord deep in her soul. Even so, she is still cold. You deserved it. She spits. She is honestly the absolute master of the sharp tongue. She obviously feels terrible for me, yet she still has to throw an insult. But just as I think she is keeping her frozen mask up, she softens, saying, it doesn't matter. You should only live for yourself. There is zero reason to beg for anyone's approval, and your father certainly does not deserve it. Pure joy explodes inside my chest. Looking down at her notebook, Seraphina quickly dives right back into her studies. After a few minutes, she notices she hasn't heard me flip a single page. Glancing over, she finds me completely knocked out, sleeping like a baby. A wave of soft regret washes over her. She can feel her lingering anger towards me, slowly melting away. She desperately tries to recall all the awful things I did before, but it is totally useless. She realizes, we are actually the exact same. We both lacked love, so we acted out. She nudges me, telling me to study instead of taking a nap. I'm not sleeping, I mumble. My head drops. I prop up my forehead and let out a heavy, miserable sigh. Meanwhile, completely hidden from the rest of the class, the corners of Seraphina's mouth curl up into a faint smile. After being repeatedly woken up, the long recess finally arrives. I immediately collapse flat on my desk and pass out like a log. And while I am totally dead to the world, I miss Beatrix calling Seraphina out of the room. The second, the next class bell rang, a sudden panic hit me. She was completely gone. Beatrix walked back in with this incredibly smug, arrogant grin, glaring directly at me as if to say Seraphina is finished. I stared at my watch. 10 whole minutes had passed, and she still was not back. Then I heard the girls giggling nearby bits of gossip about Seraphina being trapped on the rooftop and looking stupid as hell. Hearing that, something snapped. Honestly, my entire brain went completely numb with rage. How dare they touch her today? I swallowed my anger, stood right up, and told the teacher I needed the restroom. My literature teacher had checked out on me long ago anyway, so she just waved me off. The second I cleared the door, I bolted straight for the roof, taking a deep breath before shoving it open. First thing I saw was Seraphina sitting there covered in dirt. Her uniform was completely shredded, her face heavily scraped up. She turned around looking pretty confused, desperately trying to pull her torn, ruined uniform together. Her back was covered in brutal, raw whip marks that looked absolutely terrifying. "Who told you?" she asked in a hoarse whisper. I admitted I overheard. She called me a walking disaster, and right then, the system chimed. Villain affection level hit 100. Unbelievable. Everything I did was for nothing, leaving me feeling completely wronged and apologizing. I kept apologizing, but she just told me to stay away if I actually cared. She begged me to just let her have some peace. Realizing my presence only made things worse, I walked back down to class. She's not there, but Beatrix is smiling like she won. And honestly, I was about to lose it. I marched straight over in front of the whole room. and I smacked Beatrix right across her smug face. She never expected me to do it. The teacher just froze. The teacher screamed my name, but I ignored her, telling Beatrix she really crossed a line. Why take it out on Seraphina? The teacher saw me grabbing her collar and lost it, yelling that if I did not want to learn, I should pack up and go home right now. Fine, I am going. The damage was done anyway, and I was completely over trying to fix any of this. Knowing Seraphina, she absolutely despises me now. Walking home, this massive weight of heartbreak settled deep in my chest. I had pretty much forgotten why I even took on this mission in the first place. The system strictly bans us from feeling real emotions here. Once I transmigrated, all my actual memories were totally wiped. But right outside my apartment lobby, I saw Seraphina standing there. Our eyes locked. She coldly turned her head away in silence. I stood there frozen. As she brushed past me, I whispered for her to go back to school. I promised she would never get bullied again, and apologized for my past mistakes. I knew my apology was completely useless, but I still had to say it. I turned back and forced a sad smile. I cut myself off, rubbed my neck, and quickly walked upstairs without looking back. Seraphina stared after him, slightly confused. It was school hours, why was he already back home? But she quickly remembered who she was talking about. He skipped class pretty much every day anyway. Nothing new there. She scoffed coldly. Meanwhile, I slept in my room until this insanely loud pounding on my door woke me up. I paused before unlocking it. Standing outside was my dad and his mistress, making me freeze. He snarled that I had some nerve, while his mistress immediately put on her usual sweet, incredibly fake act. She told him I was just a kid. A kid? He looked ready to murder me, yelling that I sold the villa my late mother left me, and that skipping school was bad enough. But starting fights and running off with some random girl to live in a dump like this? He told me he heard I was dropping out, which was fine by him since I should not bother going back anyway. He claimed I was a failure anyway. Then he told me to pack my bags to marry Beatrix. I was going to be their live-in son-in-law. When I asked what he was talking about, he snapped that it was my only use. He said Beatrix was a good kid who was willing to overlook all of my terrible mistakes. Right after the big exams, he plans to send us to the United States. I just clenched my fists in silence. There was no point in arguing. I was not even going to survive past those exams anyway. But out of everything he could have said, that was the absolute worst line. If you had even half your mother's decency, I wouldn't be this disappointed. Hearing those words, Caspian glares daggers at Lara, who is standing right next to his father. You seriously have the absolute nerve to bring up my mother. Right then, every single ounce of rage Caspian had swallowed completely explodes. Shaking with pure fury, he points directly at the woman behind his father. My mom was amazing, but she stood no chance against two cheating, backstabbing scumbags. Slap. His dad delivers a vicious strike right across Caspian's face, growling that his mother died of a normal illness. If I hear you spout that garbage one more time, don't expect any mercy. An illness. He actually called it an illness. Caspian genuinely wonders if his father has repeated that disgusting lie so often he actually believes it now. You drove my mother to her death. You only wanted her money, toyed with her feelings, and kept a mistress behind her back. And then you used her cash to raise your bastard kid. She didn't die of an illness, you literally forced her to jump off a building. Caspian, do you have some kind of death wish? His father's jaw clenches so hard, his teeth are literally rattling. He violently grabs Caspian by the collar. But right then, what are you doing? Seraphina's freezing, crystal clear voice suddenly echoes down the hallway. She stands right in the doorway, her eyes totally dead and empty. There are plenty of elderly neighbors trying to take a nap right now. Besides, he is a minor protected by the law. If you have something to say, speak like an adult. Keep your hands off him. Beside him, Lara starts up her fake peacekeeper act. Let it go, dear. Caspian is just a kid. Let's not lower ourselves to his level, he's still very young. I don't care what you think. If you still want to call me your father, you better start behaving yourself. With that final threat, they leave. Caspian takes a deep, heavy breath and forces a helpless, bitter smile. Honestly, if he didn't have to follow the original story to prevent crazy plot shifts, he wouldn't deal with those two lunatics for even a second. Caspian touches his stinging cheek. It seriously hurts like absolute hell. He smiles weakly, about to close his door, when he realizes Seraphina is still standing there. Aren't you heading back to school? Seraphina stands just 3 short steps away. Her dark eyes seem to analyze his every thought. Caspian just nods, so you can go back to school in peace. Not having me around should make you pretty happy, right? Honestly, I don't really want to see Beatrix either right now. If there's nothing else, I'm going to get some rest. Caspian tries to pull the door shut, but she furrows her eyebrows deeply, looking like she has something to say. After a long, quiet pause, her voice softens up quite a bit. Does your father always pressure you like this? Does it hurt? Caspian touches his face and slowly shakes his head, saying it's nothing he can't handle. Her sudden concern completely shocks Caspian. She continues, saying it's just the review period now since the teachers have already finished the curriculum. Staying home to study is perfectly fine. Seraphina purses her lips, staring right at him with a highly complicated look. I can tutor you. If your father cuts you off with your current garbage grades, you won't stand a chance of getting into college. Don't get the wrong idea. I can tell you actually want to change. If I ignore you, who knows how far you'll sink. Wait, hold on, did she just offer to help? Caspian's mind is completely blown by this crazy twist. The system hasn't even announced a rise in her affection yet, but her attitude is obviously softening. When Caspian eagerly asks if she's serious, her face goes cold. Forget it, pretend I said nothing. No way, you can't take it back now. He quickly grabs her arm. Tutoring sounds amazing. Let's start right this second. Wait here, I'll grab my books. Indoors, he quickly questions the system. How does this affection level actually work? Is it a disgust meter? Does she seriously look like she hates his guts? The system coldly replies, have you forgotten something, host? In the original story, Seraphina was actually nice to the original host for a short while, too. Hearing this, chills run down his spine. Seraphina comes downstairs, looking slightly surprised to find him. Why are you still standing right here? I'm waiting for you, he says. Honestly, there are plenty of moments where Caspian completely forgets that he is literally destined to be murdered by her. Just like right now, as she sits beside him guiding him through his work, it genuinely feels like she cares about his future. You're actually pretty smart, she notes. Caspian replies he never said he was stupid. She packs up, I have my part-time job, study by yourself. Caspian doesn't try to annoy her any further. Once she leaves, he drops his pen, rests his chin on his hand, and consults the system. He seriously feels like she has zero intention of ever trying to kill him. What other major plot points are supposed to happen next? The system answers that the original host's younger brother is supposed to seek out Seraphina. Plus, she's destined to cross paths with the male lead 3 more times. This will skyrocket her feelings for him. You won't believe how fast it's happening within the next few days. Caspian instantly leaps out of his chair. There are barely any days left to hit his half-month deadline. Even if I couldn't max out my own affection stats, I absolutely had to stop Seraphina from falling for the male lead and sliding into total darkness. Loving the hero never ends well for a villainess. And Beatrix calling me a stalker actually forced me to become a real one. Since Seraphina worked at a coffee shop, I wasn't dumb enough to sit inside, so I set up camp at the boba place right across the street. Just one sweet boba daily, waiting for her shift to end, so I could shadow her home. Honestly, after a few days, I became pretty friendly with the shop staff. They even teased me, saying if I liked her, I should just go for it since I'm handsome. She would definitely fall for me. So the second Seraphina got off, I trailed behind, keeping a strict 10-pace distance between us. My backup plan was solid if she caught me. I'd just say I was out buying tea. Completely unrelated to her, Seraphina walked calmly, wearing a tiny smile, before suddenly slipping into a dark alleyway when no one was looking. Seriously, keep your eyes on this, she vanishes the second his head is down. Panicking, I ran forward, searching everywhere. Where did she go? Suddenly, a voice asked if I finished my practice papers. Spinning around, I found her leaning against the wall, asking why I stalked her daily. That single sentence shattered my defenses. The excuses died in my throat, so I just asked how she knew. Who even stalks someone by keeping exactly 10 paces behind them, head glued down, barely trying to hide? Do you think I'm blind or stupid? She demanded. I stammered that I was just worried because she is honestly way too pretty. She stepped closer, suddenly pinning me right against the wall. Right then, a soft, fresh fragrance drifted over me. Looking down, I met her intense, watery eyes. Do you really like me that much? Sticking to me like glue? I have a better way to keep you from leaving, she whispered. Want to try? I hesitated, then smiled and agreed. Seraphina's animosity seemed to be shifting in real time. She leaned in, gently pressing her lips against the corner of my mouth. Don't move. Her voice was unbelievably soft. My heart was practically hammering out of my chest as the system notifications went wild. Affection level reached 5099. Go home and study, she said. Seraphina honestly didn't understand what came over her, suddenly wanting to kiss me. It was a total spur-of-the-moment impulse. But in that fleeting second, she felt a massive wave of panic. Can you believe it? Only 2 weeks, and she is already falling this hard. While Alaric was out buying school supplies, he spotted Seraphina walking alone with a flushed face. She looked truly gorgeous. Calling her name, Alaric jogged over, looking absolutely thrilled to see her. He radiated a bright confidence she secretly envied, asking if she had just finished her shift. With college exams coming up, he asked if she was exhausted, how things were, and if Caspian had been bothering her again. He complained that she never added him back, causing Seraphina to frown. Even though it was a bit embarrassing, she plainly stated she didn't have a phone or apps. Alaric's face completely froze. Apologizing quickly, Alaric asked which university she was applying to, looking completely shocked when she said Zhongyu. He was applying there too for computer science, shocking her with the coincidence. Before she could answer, she spotted me standing right behind Alaric, feeling a quick pang of guilt. Alaric continued babbling obliviously, saying they would be great friends since they clicked. Through gritted teeth, I spat, "Aren't you just a universal puzzle piece? I told you last time to stay away from my girlfriend. Are you deaf?" Looking deeply embarrassed, Alaric snapped that she was only my girlfriend in my dreams, telling me to have some shame. I was totally ready to teach him a lesson when a cold voice cut the air. "It is not a delusion," she declared. "I am his girlfriend. Let us go." Seraphina waved me ovs. Esto. Este. Este. Esta. Esta. Ista. With a face full of sheer shock and frustration. Happily trotting to her side, I called out that I was coming and offered her my half-finished boba tea. Asking if she wanted a sweet sip, Seraphina just stared blankly at my chewed straw. When she refused, I gladly drank it myself, humming a happy tune without feeling awkward. Sometimes, she truly wondered if she was overthinking things, since Caspian seemed so incredibly simple and easy to please. Just a tiny kind gesture from her, and my eyes would light up like 1,000 shining stars. Somehow, it was pretty endearing. Walking back, I rambled about absolutely everything under the sun, from the rowdy kids at the boba shop to the couples getting way too close. She said if I studied with half that energy, I would do great. I gasped. Seraphina looked confused, asking what was wrong. "It means my life is pretty short. You know how they say nice guys die early, but real troublemakers live for 1,000 years. You are a menace," she said. "No way you die young." My heart skipped a beat as pure joy flooded my face. It seemed like she had absolutely no intention of killing me. That realization made me pretty damn happy. I told her she had to live a long life too, but she just called me boring. Right as we discussed our future, we bumped into Mother Sue. Seraphina panicked right away, quickly turning her face away and pulling her hand from my grip with irritation. I asked what was wrong, insisting I was serious. I promised to study hard and get into Django with her so we could study medicine together. She asked, genuinely confused, why I was so obsessed with her studying medicine. I stumbled over my words, saying it just suited her incredibly well. Wearing that white coat? Absolutely attractive. I was just desperate to prove my point to her. She just called me superficial and quickly walked ahead. She acted like we were barely acquaintances, keeping it brief before quickly helping her mother with the grocery bags and asking if she was off work early. Mother Sue pointed at me, asking if I was her classmate, and why she had never mentioned me before. Looking closely at me, she could tell I obviously did not belong in this rundown neighborhood. I was handsome and well-dressed, making her pretty curious. She asked if Seraphina liked me, but she insisted we were just classmates. But look at this. The very next morning, I was awkwardly sneaking upstairs with breakfast, feeling incredibly anxious. She asked why I was not at school. I lied about making a mistake and asked if Seraphina was home. She smiled, realizing I definitely had a crush. I quickly asked if Seraphina could help me study, since my grades were pretty bad. I promised not to let her tutor me for free, but Mother Sue insisted that classmates should never talk about paying for favors. Since no friends had visited in years, she was just happy her daughter finally had someone to talk to. She paused, adding that her daughter was quite a good girl. I smiled, saying I knew she was not just good, but completely outstanding. I thanked her and headed up. When the doorbell rang, Seraphina initially assumed her mother had just forgotten her keys. Opening the door to find me standing there, she froze completely, asking why on earth I was at her place. I proudly held up the breakfast. She frowned but took the bag, even though she had actually already eaten. Hoping to hide the dirty dishes on the table, she quickly blocked the doorway. But I just craned my neck and flashed a goofy grin. Her heart sank. "I just saw your mom," I said, making her eyes instantly darken. She asked if I said anything to her. I shook my head and played dumb, silently remembering my old threat to take my anger out on her mother. I explained that I only asked her mom for some tutoring help and that she was genuinely happy about it. She told me to visit often, I said, asking if we could start, since I had a ton of questions from yesterday. She sighed, telling me she would look at them later, but it really was not convenient for me to come inside now. Looking down at the breakfast, She had no idea that the shop was actually located all the way across town by the park, pretty far from here. Not even her own mother had ever gone out of her way to take care of her like that. After she finished grading my paper, I leaned in close. Seeing a page full of red check marks, I grinned and asked if I made progress. She reminded me we only had a week left, telling me to focus because despite being smart, I missed way too much material. I asked if I could get into Jengu with her now, but she claimed she did not care. Honestly, if the system wanted me to finish this mission, it would definitely just hand me all the correct answers anyway. Perhaps she felt like fate was playing a cruel joke, seeing a slacker like Caspian possess enough raw intelligence to rival students who struggled for years. He was rich, handsome, and naturally brilliant. A guy like that would have girls chasing him absolutely everywhere. You have to wonder why on earth was he clinging to her when she felt she only had her looks. Sure, he kept saying he just liked her face, but there were countless rich, elegant girls out there who actually knew how to dress. She absolutely hated this feeling, being completely unable to read his mind, yet desperately wanting to know his thoughts. Resting my chin in my hands, I grinned widely, declaring that I was definitely going to stay by her side forever. Hearing those words, her heart trembled, and she quickly looked down, feeling a sudden wave of gloom. Surprisingly, she did not throw back a sarcastic insult. Instead, she softly muttered, "Do not say things like that. I am serious. It is truer than gold. Besides, you like me, right?" I felt like I was dancing on the edge of danger, but I was not panicked at all. Seraphina was absolutely starved for affection, dead empty. Most villains are just severely unloved. Well, except for the pure psychopaths, of course. You admitted I was your girlfriend in front of everyone at Alaric. I was right, was I not? I never know what goes on in that head of yours. I already told you I would not like you. I am just paying back a debt. You treat me well, so I treat you well. If I end up liking you, does that not mean you have to like me even more? My lips curled into a smirk. If that is what true gratitude looks like, fine. I still have my part-time shift. I am out of here. Seraphina's escape was hasty, total panic. She fled without even grabbing her books. I clutched my stomach on the sofa, laughing until tears literally streamed down my face as the affection levels started skyrocketing. The meter paused around plus 30 to 50, then suddenly hit 99. Let's be real, a glitchy system is basically a staple in S-rank missions. My system assistant once admitted they had never successfully cleared an S-rank mission before. Meanwhile, Seraphina spent her whole day feeling completely distracted. Her coffee shop boss even asked if she had fought with her boyfriend. Seraphina froze, the tips of her ears turning bright red. What boyfriend? She wondered. The boss laughed. The guy who camps out at the milk tea shop waiting for you daily. I saw you two walk off together yesterday. Is he seriously not your boyfriend? Seraphina glanced toward the milk tea shop across the street. Looking through the glass, the boy's familiar silhouette was completely gone. A sudden emptiness hollowed out her chest, like she had lost something incredibly important. The feeling was totally foreign and terrifyingly intense. No, he is not. Not at all. She desperately tried to shake those thoughts. But fate does not always cooperate. Her very first customer that morning was draped in designer brands, radiating absolute arrogance. One look told her this guy was here to cause trouble. She greeted him politely. "I am Seraphina, how may I help you?" "So, it is you." The man's eyes dripped with pure disdain as he introduced himself as Caspian's younger brother, Darius. "My purpose today is very simple." He pulled out a black card, telling her to leave his brother. Leave Zhongchong. Seraphina got major déjà vu. This felt exactly like a cheesy 8 p.m. soap opera, where the evil parent throws money in the heroine's face to make her leave. Ridiculous. She used to think these scenarios could never actually happen in real life. Well, look at her now. Pure drama. "So, you are the homewrecker's son," she smirked. Darius's face instantly twisted into an angry scowl, growling that she had some nerve. "Do you know the consequences of speaking to me like that?" She shrugged. "I do not know, so if you are not ordering, please leave. Stop disturbing others." Darius pivoted smoothly, staring at her with nothing but contempt. "I want a hand-drip iced coffee, no milk, no sugar." He threw a $100 bill at her, mocking her. "The hand-drip coffee is actually $150. Annoyed, Darius yanked out another 100 and threw it. "Keep the change as a tip," he scoffed. Calmly, Seraphina took the $50 bill change and genuinely slipped it into her pocket. Darius sneered. How pathetic. Watching her actions, he looked down on her. A measly $50 tip is enough to make her act like a lapdog. He had no idea how crazy Caspian must be to fall for someone like this. When Seraphina approached with his cup, Darius stealthily stuck his foot right out. She never expected him to be this completely petty. Unbelievable. Her hand jerked, sending the coffee flying everywhere. It splashed violently all over Darius's expensive clothes. He roared, "What is the meaning of this, using your job for revenge?" The shop owner rushed out, completely clueless about what just happened. Seeing Darius's ruined clothes, he immediately dragged Seraphina over to apologize. "I am so incredibly sorry. Our employee has not been feeling well lately, so she is just a bit clumsy today." "Save your breath," Darius snapped. "I never wear washed clothes. This suit was imported straight from Italy. Pay me $8,000. The owner gasped. "Are you actually here to extort us?" The owner recognized the high-end brand, but never expected it to be that expensive. Absurd. Seraphina looked up, baffled. His method of picking a fight was just painfully childish. Just as she was about to speak, I violently shoved Eric aside. I practically tumbled into the shop, rushing right to her side, and demanding what he just said to her. I shielded Seraphina completely behind my back. "Darius, who gave you any permission to come here?" His arrogant, difficult demeanor vanished without a trace, instantly replaced by the fake act of a perfect, loving brother. "Caspian, you have not been home in ages. Mom and Dad sent me to find you. I refuse to discuss this right now." "Wait, what did you say to her?" "None of your business," Seraphina softly cut in, claiming it was her own mistake and the clothes just needed washing. Charging her $8,000 is straight up bullying, right? The shop owner loved how hard Seraphina worked and jumped in to defend her. $8,000? I instantly lost my temper. Why not just go rob a bank? This scheming little snake was obviously trying to score points with our father by stirring up trouble for me on purpose. Honestly, I had witnessed Seraphina endure far too many embarrassing moments. She always believed a slightly nicer life would solve everything. Right then, I tightly grabbed Seraphina by her sleeve. "Come with me." On my way out, I brutally shoulder-checked him. "Oh, sorry," I sneered. "Didn't see you there." Lies. I absolutely did. If my system had not randomly warned me about a critical plot flag triggering, who knows what would have happened next. Eric did not have much money, but he had saved up quite a bit of red envelope cash. And get this, in the original plot, he is the one who pays this off to play hero. Since Seraphina desperately craved affection, that small favor would win her over forever, sending her feelings for Eric off the charts. No way. I was absolutely not letting that happen. "Why are you here?" she asked. My sudden arrival looked way too convenient, and she was naturally super distrustful. She might not outright accuse me of setting up this whole damsel in distress rescue, but I was worried and had to see her. I literally just reached the door, saw the chaos, and ran straight inside. What could he even do to me, she wondered, realizing I saw her as some fragile flower that might break in a gentle breeze. "He is not a nice guy," I muttered, knowing my excuse sounded incredibly weak. Seraphina laughed softly. "Sure, he is bad, but so is Caspian. You know what? I do not want to work anymore. Buy me dinner," she said. "Since he only came to stir up trouble because of you, you should take responsibility." Her sudden demand shocked me, but I was absolutely thrilled. It was totally out of character for her, yet it felt like a massive step closer. Vain affection level 99. Seriously? I figured my system was just glitched. Of course, what are you craving? The rumors, after all, made my personal life sound like a chaotic mess. Early on, Seraphina figured I was simply playing games with her, but watching me laser focus on her and actively flirt made her feel a sudden spike of bitter resentment instead. If her family had real power, she could easily control me, but she was powerless. Worse, I told her, I only liked her looks. No wonder she was losing sleep. Wouldn't a shallow guy like me just dump her the second someone prettier appeared? I was incredibly shallow, so she just wanted me to finish this game so she could finally stop feeling so uneasy. My mind raced as I tried deciding what we should eat. Raw food was out, so Japanese was definitely not an option. Her stomach was sensitive, meaning nothing spicy either. After debating it, I suggested we grab groceries so I could cook for her at home. "Actually, I know how to make a few easy meals, and honestly, I just really want to cook for you." She agreed. When I set down 2 side dishes and a bowl of egg drop soup, she stared at the shockingly tasty meal. "You actually know how to cook," she said, surprised. I replied, "Of course I do." Lifting the bowl, a sudden, deep wave of familiarity washed over her mind, only to disappear as quickly as it had arrived. "Next time someone corners and bullies me," she asked, "will you show up then, too?" Seraphina suddenly dropped that heavy question, staring up with deep, intense eyes. Right then, I realized a massive problem. Instantly, my hands began to shake with pure nerves. I stuttered, "Wait. What problem? Do you hate Eric?" She had never noticed before, but seeing Eric and me show up at the exact same moment today forced her to pay attention. Every single time Eric showed up, I always happened to be right there too. Glancing away, I refused to tell her the truth. Her voice turned ice cold. So it is true. You hate him. I responded that I just did not want her near him. Not even a tiny bit. Why? Because you and him will never get a good ending, I said, my voice completely certain. Seraphina raised an eyebrow, shooting back, and what about us then? Will you and I actually get a good ending? I froze, utterly terrified. First of all, in the original story, Seraphina is literally destined to kill me, even if the odds looked low now. If my mission succeeded and I kept her on the right track, I would literally vanish from this world forever. A mocking smirk touched her lips as she went back to eating. After a heavy silence, my voice finally cut through the tension. We will, I promised. I will give you the absolute best ending. It won't end in tragedy. I force a stiff, bitter smile. Those life-changing college entrance exams are looming closer by the second. Seraphina actually made a special trip to the school just to bring me the exam details. She even dragged me out to buy pens. Why are you spacing out? Seraphina finishes paying and looks back, finding me totally frozen. Missing something? I shoot a heavy glare over at Alaric, whose face looks absolutely miserable. Walking out, Seraphina spots a milk tea shop across the street and asks if I want one. She mentions noticing how much I love this stuff. I point at Alaric, utterly speechless, but her face stays totally blank. I tell her I want one. As she walks over to buy it, my soul finally drifts back into my body. Check this out. Alaric had just bumped into Seraphina, flashing a sweet smile and saying hello. He babbled about what a crazy coincidence it was. But before I could even storm over, Seraphina shut him down with pure ice. She flat out told him that running into him was annoying and they weren't close. Alaric was left totally frozen. Honestly, I was stunned too. She shoves milk tea into my hand and walks off without looking back. Most of the walk is just me hustling to catch up. Only when I pull next to her does she slow down. I try to break the quiet by asking if our exam rooms are close, noting that she is up on the 3rd floor. I tell her I am on the 1st. Then ask if she will wait for me. She agrees. But the night before, I pace the halls, drowning in panic. Less than 24 hours until my scheduled execution. If I survive tomorrow, the system mission is basically half done. I can finally escape this cursed plot, giving Seraphina a real shot at a new life. Why are you pacing around in the middle of the night instead of sleeping? It looks like she is heading downstairs for something. My entire body freezes. I turn to see her long, soft hair framing her pale face. Even when she looks relaxed, those eyes of hers are still razor sharp. She just radiates this heavy, intense pressure. I admit I'm nervous. She stares down at me, then suggests a walk downstairs. We step out together. My mind is clearly spinning with heavy thoughts, but comforting people isn't really her strong suit. She hesitates, trying to find the right words, then locks eyes with me to say I will eventually find some college to go to. Real helpful. She looks just as annoyed with her words. I explain that I know my grades are pretty bad. You do not have to remind me, but I will do everything to get into Janggu. I just want to stay with you. She points out that Janggu isn't even that great anyway. The local university in Jangchong is quite good and pretty close. I ask her what she was really trying to say earlier, my voice shaking as I ask what she honestly thinks of me. She says nothing special. I almost forgot she can lie with a straight face. But hey, that is fine. Then I ask if she is still majoring in tech, and what happens if she meets some guy who is way nicer, handsomer, and smoother than me. Would she like him? She claims she doesn't know, then suddenly speeds up her walk to leave me trailing behind. What does that even mean? It just means she hasn't fallen for me yet. I mean, why would she fall for me over a few tiny favors? Honestly, I must look incredibly pathetic to her right now. Walking this slowly is basically begging her to turn back. But she doesn't. And you know the worst part? She's terrified that if she chases after me, it's all just her own wishful thinking. What the hell? I curse, aggressively tossing and turning in my bed. If I fail this, the system will drag me back to run 10 low-tier missions. I keep telling myself to separate reality from the game. It is all just a game. I am just so tired. No matter whose skin I wear, this isn't my real home. I belong nowhere. This emptiness just washes over me. Am I crying? I quickly wipe my face. Scared that I'll end up oversleeping, Seraphina is knocking on my door early to make sure I'm packed and ready. I look at her, completely in a daze. I have a million burning questions but can't bring myself to voice a single one. She wishes me good luck and turns to leave, but I call her name and practically throw myself at her for a tight hug. The sudden embrace makes her entire body go stiff. I just squeeze her tightly, holding back all the pain I've carried for so long. She gently pats my head. I am shaking. And she probably just thinks I am terrified of the exam. Don't worry, she tells me. If you don't know an answer, just skip it and don't fall asleep. I agree, telling her I just want her safe. As long as she's happy, I'm happy. Will you remember me? Seraphina frowns, totally confused by my words, but I just wish her luck as she walks away. As Seraphina stepped into the exam room, the very first person she spotted by the window was Alaric. He looked pretty eager to chat, but in a flash, Seraphina's eyes went totally cold. Fortunately, the exam itself went by smoothly. Even after handing in her paper, Seraphina couldn't stop frowning. She figured I wouldn't stand a chance against the hardest questions. So, after some serious thought, she deliberately left the final essay blank. As for me, everything was going perfectly according to plan. Thanks to my system's guidance, I knew the exact cutoff score for Jiangyu University. I carefully calculated my points, leaving just enough questions blank to hit that target. No more. No less. If Seraphina was dead set on computer science, I was ready to risk it all to be right there with her. Being a fast writer, I was the first to hand in my paper. I sprinted straight up to the third floor. Inside the classroom, Seraphina was still slowly packing up her things. I shot a fierce, warning glare at Alaric on the other side of the room. Unbelievable. Talk about scary plot armor, bringing him to the exact same exam room. As Seraphina looked toward the back door, I suddenly threw my arms around her from behind. The sweet, soft scent of the young girl instantly wrapped around me. Seraphina blushed, swaying slightly under my sudden weight, but I held on tight, refusing to let go, clinging to her like absolute superglue. Exams are exhausting, I mumbled, needing to recharge my battery. Seraphina completely froze up, while Alaric just stared at us in absolute shock. I shot him a smug, victorious smirk. Alaric looked like he forgot how to breathe. Seraphina is ungrateful and Caspian is pure trash. They really deserve each other, Alaric thought, raising his chin haughtily before storming right out. The classroom quickly emptied out. Seraphina felt her face growing hot, asking, "Are you finished yet?" Later at the restaurant, I was happily babbling non-stop about how I cracked the test, my eyes sparkling with pure excitement. Seraphina quietly picked at her rice, naturally moving the best pieces of meat onto my plate while I was too busy talking to notice. She watched me for a moment, then obediently picked up a single piece of meat and put it in her mouth. Her eyes curved into a warm, genuine smile. After a bit, I got up to use the restroom when suddenly a voice asked, "Is this your wallet?" I turned around and saw a girl with an incredibly clean, pure face. Her vibe was completely different from Seraphina's. She looked genuinely innocent, with incredibly soft, balanced features. I quickly thanked her, and she smiled, saying, "You're welcome." Wait, my jaw literally dropped. I couldn't help but stare, because she was the actual female lead of the original novel. "Is she pretty?" A voice whispered from behind. Caught off guard, I instinctively blurted out, "Yeah, she's pretty." I whipped my head around to find Seraphina staring at me with terrifyingly dark eyes. "Oh, did I interrupt your ogling?" "My apologies," she said, spinning around and walking straight out. Panicking, I sprinted right after her. I tried to explain, but she shoved me hard, telling me to get lost. Seeing her bolt out the door, I fumbled to grab my wallet. But when I tried to pay, the owner said the bill was already settled. I ran out the door like an absolute madman. I always knew Caspian was a shallow jerk, Seraphina thought, viciously kicking a pebble down the street. Just a moment ago, she'd gotten worried because I was taking forever in the restroom, thinking something happened. But when she went to check, she found me staring blankly at some random girl's back. Even without seeing her face, she figured the girl must be drop-dead gorgeous. I followed pitifully behind her, neither of us saying a single word. Only when we reached the exam building did I finally dare to tug her sleeve, stammering she just looked like a celebrity. "I know. No need to explain, I don't care," she snapped. I mumbled back, "Right, with that look, I almost thought you were jealous." Never mind. I knew Seraphina was incapable of jealousy. Reflecting on that 99% affection level, I figured I was just being totally delusional. Talk about a ticking clock. Only 5 hours left until my scheduled death. I slumped onto my desk, totally depressed. Those 5 hours felt like an absolute eternity. Surely, Seraphina had no reason left to kill me now, right? The very second the final bell rang, I was nervously waiting for Seraphina by the exit. When Seraphina walked out, she immediately picked up on my dark mood, wondering if her harsh coldness at lunch had actually terrified me. She realized she had no real reason to be angry, but to her, I was like a kite soaring way too high. She held the string, but any moment it could snap and let me drift away. She felt the entire universe was deeply unfair. She felt like a fish on a chopping block, completely helpless. I brokenly asked, "Can I walk home with you?" And she just muttered, "Let's go." Seraphina didn't hesitate for a second. I felt a million unspoken thoughts rising up, but I kept swallowing them down. So, Seraphina, what exactly are we? She replied, what do you think? When I said I didn't know, her heart sank like a stone. Just a second ago, he was proudly telling the whole world he was her boyfriend. Now? He's pretty lost. Do whatever you want, I don't even know what to say. Seeing me completely silent, she somehow endures it before snapping. Are you done playing with me? So all those nice things you did, were they just a setup to dump me now? But I didn't do it. Her intense questions mixed with a storm of complex emotions completely scramble my brain. Fine, whatever. She spits out that single word, her heart clenching in absolute agony. My head is literally exploding from the system's frantic alerts. The affection levels are swinging wildly back and forth, making my head split open as I stand there quite frozen. I'm paralyzed by the sheer sensory overload. Without looking back, Seraphina walks off, fast. She's used to leaving me behind, and I'm used to watching her walk. But get this, the affection level hits absolute zero. What does this even mean? Why did it drop to zero? What's she thinking? Only Seraphina knows. I can't figure it out, and I don't want to go home. Meanwhile, Seraphina stands at her window, looking down. She can't see me anywhere. She assumes I must have gone back to my real home. She thinks I'm just bored of playing this game. Time to go back to where I truly belong, right? I stand exactly 10 paces away from where the original host was supposed to die. She's not here. I survived. I'm in a complete daze, checking the clock. 30 minutes left. Surviving means this crazy mission isn't over yet. I still have to stay close to her and stop her from going dark. Just as I turn around to leave, a sharp scream echoes from a nearby alley. Instinctively, I rush toward it. There's Alaric, trembling in a corner, and cornered by a bunch of local thugs. I scratch my head in confusion. What is this cliché plotline? Seeing someone walk into the alley, Alaric looks relieved and calls out my name. Caspian. The thugs all turn around to look at me. One of them excitedly yells, "Boss Caspian." Alaric's face turns completely pale. Trembling, he asks, "Did you hire these people?" I stare hard at the thug. I rack my brain, but I have absolutely no idea who this guy is. I snap. What are you guys doing? Our boss just wanted to invite the pretty boy out to play, but he's not appreciating the gesture. We heard you hate this guy too, Boss Caspian. Why don't you teach him a lesson? Go on. Hold him down. You won't believe who's standing behind me. A heavy hand claps my shoulder. It's Seraphina, and my brain completely short-circuits. Seraphina came to save him. Finding a sudden surge of strength, Alaric actually breaks through the thugs and sprints toward us. He slams right into me, knocking me off balance. Alaric scrambles to Seraphina's side while a thug catches me. The guy yells, "You got a death wish, Boss Caspian? Are you hurt? Didn't I say to hold him down? Did you idiots not eat breakfast?" Before the thug can even finish speaking, a terrifying realization hits me. I didn't do this. I violently shove the thug away, desperately trying to distance myself from the situation. My heart hammers in my chest. Seraphina doesn't push Alaric away. Instead, she pats him soothingly and says softly, "I'll take you home." The thug intentionally tries to block my path. I deliver a brutal slap across his face. "Boss Caspian," he stammers. I grind my teeth together angrily. "If you don't know how to talk, shut your mouth and stay away from me." Alaric cries the entire way home. Seraphina finds his weeping incredibly irritating. The look in my eyes earlier keeps flashing in her mind, making her heart ache. What really happened back there? After school, they blocked me and dragged me here. I didn't provoke them. Do you think Caspian did this? No way. Her response is instant and firm. Did you forget all the terrible things he's done before? Seraphina instinctively refuses to believe Alaric, but it was true. I did all those awful things before. I'll call a cab for you, Alaric. I still have things to do. They shouldn't bother you anymore. I hadn't gone far, standing quietly at the entrance. The thugs had already run off. Seeing my figure, Seraphina's eyes light up for a brief second, but she quickly hides it. Seraphina finally walks over. It's 8:25 in the evening. I didn't do it. I stubbornly repeat those words, knowing how impossible it is to change her mind once it's set. She just stares intensely. I know I was completely awful before, but I'm truly trying to change. Tears sting the corners of my eyes. I swear, I have absolutely zero reason to target Alaric. None. But Seraphina steps closer. I instantly back away. Is she here for payback? Seriously, I'm absolutely terrified of pain. Please, can you choose a less painful execution method? Are you sick, Caspian? She just laughs. Looking up in absolute confusion with tears in my eyes, she suddenly pulls out a tissue and shoves it against my face. You look incredibly ugly. Stop crying now. I genuinely have no idea what to think. Wait, you are not going to kill me? Didn't you say you were done with me? She asks who said that, and I beam. I quickly wipe my face with the tissue and ask her why she abandoned me in this spot earlier. And why did you just run off this afternoon? Hearing this, Seraphina feels her heart pounding wildly, all because of me. Check it out, we are right back in that same narrow alley as she shoves me against the brick wall. Her breathing is slightly uneven as her breath ghosts across my face. You said you were tired of playing, she whispers. Total lies, I curse. I pray with everything I have that she only likes me, so she loses all interest in fighting Lyric or competing with the female lead. Say one more curse word, I dare you, she warns, pinching my cheek. I grin widely, I won't, I am just so happy. Even if she beats me to a pulp right now, I am ecstatic. Caspian, she says, I am no toy. You flirted, and I took it seriously. I never called you a toy. But I am highly paranoid. I have deep issues. I am sensitive, suspicious, and completely unstable. I am a truly terrible person. But you told me you wanted to spend your whole life with me, and I took that to heart. From this second, all our messy history is wiped clean. We are officially starting over. If you do not actually like me, we can stay strangers. But if you flirt again, I will fall hard. I really like you. Before she can even finish her sentence, I cut her off instantly. My eyes tell her I am speaking from the bottom of my heart. In this exact moment, I genuinely, truly like her. But then she whispers that I do not seem like the old Caspian at all. Hearing those words, my heart completely freezes. Caspian, let us head home, she says, gently taking my hand. The system chimes, and a massive wave of shock hits me. Her affection level is permanently locked at 100%. She has absolutely never loved anyone before, but right now, she desperately wants me to belong to her completely. Just as expected, we both get into Django University. I spend so much time wondering what it is like dating someone like her. Her affection level stays at a flat 100, occasionally hitting 100.1. Honestly, she is the perfect girlfriend. Over the summer, she works hard at part-time jobs to save up for living expenses. Yet every single time she comes home, she brings back little treats like my beloved milk tea or my favorite chicken wings. Are you dating that downstairs boy? Today is finally Seraphina's day off. Knowing I want to go out, she gets ready early in the morning. But her mother's sudden, sharp question makes Seraphina freeze completely. Getting caught by her mom is pretty normal. That kid's family is incredibly rich, right? Tell me. Her mom urges. Saying absolutely nothing, she quietly closes the door behind her. Meanwhile, I have been waiting downstairs for quite a while. But she stays totally silent. Are you unhappy? Did you fight with your mother? No, she says, shooting me a cold look. It feels like I can read her mind effortlessly. I always manage to pierce right through her carefully built-up disguises. You are totally overthinking it. Have you talked to your family lately? No. Why? I lie smoothly. Her slightly guilty eyes do not expose my lie. Since I got into Django, my dad suddenly seems to have had a massive change of heart. He even bought back our old villa and keeps begging me to move back home. But Seraphina's mood stays incredibly low all day. No matter how hard I try to make her laugh, her heavy mood just will not lift. It is honestly hard to believe her affection is fully maxed, and that terrifying villain meter is officially at 0. Every single day with her brings me pure, simple joy. We sit on a quiet park bench, enjoying the cool evening breeze together. She suddenly stares at me, spacing out. I have been pretty curious, why were you always so convinced I would kill you? The exact second those words leave her mouth, my happy smile instantly vanishes. I only did that to keep reminding her, hoping it would make her abandon any crazy, murderous thoughts about me. I honestly never expected this stupid plan to backfire on me so horribly. Why is she asking this now? Is she actually starting to feel murderous again? So, I bite the bullet and start spouting absolute nonsense about having a bad nightmare. I dreamt you literally chopped me into 8 pieces, and it felt so real. I quickly shove my drink right in front of her face. Here, try this, it's pretty sweet. Seraphina already saw right through my little scheme. As I watched her expectantly, she took a sip of the incredibly sour drink. But her face showed absolutely zero expression. My hand actually shook. I grabbed the cup back, took a quick sip myself, and holy mother of pearl, it was unbelievably sour. Seraphina almost never smiled. But when she did, her eyes became breathtakingly beautiful. They literally looked like a pool of clear spring water. Chewing my straw, I sneaked a glance at her and couldn't help but smile. For Seraphina, being with me made time completely fly by. Before we knew it, the day to report to Django University finally arrived. The university was quite a long distance away. The fact that I actually got into Django left my high school teachers completely dumbfounded, since cheating on those exams is totally impossible. In the end, They could only assume my ancestors' graves must be smoking with some serious good karma. I walked all the way there with Seraphina, whose gorgeous figure was exceptionally eye-catching on campus, drawing stares from literally everyone. Because of that, the second I stepped inside, my new roommates practically swarmed me. Bro, they asked eagerly, who was that stunning girl walking with you earlier? My girlfriend, I replied with a massive wave of pride. They instantly bombarded me with questions, asking if she goes here and what her major is. We're both studying computer science, I said, introducing myself as Caspian, but my happiness didn't last long when the dorm door suddenly swung open again. Now look at this. My eyes locked onto the guy standing there, Alaric. Sparks of pure hatred immediately started flying. Alaric instantly froze, his jaw practically hitting the floor. He looked like he wanted to turn around and run for his life. Sharing a room with me was literally his absolute worst nightmare. Do you guys actually know each other? Talk about crazy fate. You two chat, I'm going to find my girlfriend. Since it was the first day of registration with parents everywhere unpacking bags, I easily snuck my way upstairs to the girls' dorm building. Just as I went to knock, the door opened, and a girl asked, "Hey handsome, who are you looking for?" Seraphina looked over, frowning immediately. She asked why I was there. Leaving her half-made bed, Seraphina walked right over and grabbed my hand. I held up the milk tea, introducing myself to her roommates. "I'm Seraphina's boyfriend and brought these for you," I said, as Seraphina shyly tugged on the hem of my shirt. Seeing the door move, she quickly pulled me closer. I stared at the girl standing right in front of us. "Wait, Eleanor," the other girls happily chimed in. "You two might be early, but everyone in this dorm already knows each other." Sister Ning, the boyfriend, came to deliver milk tea. Suddenly, Eleanor looked at me with a huge smile, saying, "Oh, it's you. Do you remember me from that restaurant? You picked up my wallet. Thank you so much." I smiled warmly back at her. Seraphina stared. 2 long seconds passed before she finally remembered what happened back then. Without missing a beat, she grabbed me and dragged me outside. "Weren't you hungry? Let's go eat," she said, feeling incredibly stifled. That girl had money, looks, and a vibe that basically screamed, "I track young guys effortlessly." She dragged me all the way downstairs. "Is that girl pretty?" she asked. "No way," I replied, having quickly wised up, "you're much prettier." I can tell you guys right now, Seraphina was a massive jar of jealousy. "Did you check the class assignments yet?" she asked. She smoothly changed the subject, which finally reminded me to pull out my own phone. Seraphina had actually worked a part-time job to buy a smartphone too, though she wasn't quite used to using it yet. "Don't bother looking, we aren't in the same class," she said. I felt completely deflated after working so hard only to end up separated like this. Our schedules wouldn't even align. Plus, I had to room with Alaric. I'm keeping a super close eye on him. "Why?" she asked. "Because that sneaky punk is always buzzing around you, and I hate it." I cracked my knuckles menacingly. "If he tries anything, he's dead meat." Seraphina let out a soft laugh as I warned her that he was trying to steal her, and she must stay away. Seraphina secretly absolutely loved it when I acted like this, making her feel incredibly protected and constantly on my mind. Her heart felt completely full. Meanwhile, back in the girls' dorm, the roommates were busy chattering away while unpacking. Having absolutely nothing to do made Seraphina feel quite out of place, realizing she needed a part-time job to stay busy. They asked Seraphina how she met her boyfriend, and she softly replied, "We were high school classmates." "That is so sweet," they cooed, asking if they had done it yet, earning a freezing side eye from Seraphina. Eleanor quickly chimed in to save her, telling them to stop asking such incredibly personal questions. Back at the dorm, my roommates were interrogating me on how I bagged a literal goddess. I shamelessly told them she loves me, so I just let her have her way. Is it really that hard to believe? I shot a look at Alaric and asked him directly. This guy used to accuse me of forcing her to date me. But what did my girlfriend actually tell him? She said she barely knew him and told him to stop pestering her. Alaric's eyes went red with rage as he barked at me. "What kind of nonsense are you spewing, Caspian? Don't push it. Everyone knows you are the absolute king of school bullies. Ask yourself honestly, how many times did you beat up Seraphina? Suspicious? You bet. Maybe you used your family's cash to hire those thugs after the exams just to cause trouble daily." My eyes turned dead cold as I replied, "So what if I hit her? Doesn't she still like me anyway? And stop trying to frame me. Those thugs had absolutely nothing to do with me. I strongly suggest you keep your mouth shut." He snapped back that he'd say whatever he wanted, so I didn't hesitate for a second. Grabbing a heavy wooden stool nearby, I dared him to speak again. But Alaric refused to back down. He puffed his chest, daring me to swing. I swallowed. Something felt pretty different this time. With the stool raised, I braced myself to swing, but he didn't even flinch. He just stared. But then, I slowly lowered the chair. Seraphina had told me not to get into any more fights, and I had to listen. Forget it. I'm letting you off the hook this time. Alaric just let out a cold snort and stormed off. After our little clash, the roommates saw the vibe clear as day. Alaric and I were like oil and water. Honestly, I didn't care about the rumors. I only cared about what Seraphina thought. But Alaric wasn't nearly as carefree. Growing up, he was always the golden boy. But check this out, every single time he deals with me, he hits a brick wall. Even when I was clearly the bad guy. Eleanor gently asked him why he wasn't adjusting well to university life. Seeing him looking so stressed and distracted, her voice was incredibly gentle. He just muttered that he was in a pretty bad mood. Eleanor and Alaric grew up together as childhood sweethearts. In her eyes, Alaric had always been a kind-hearted boy from day one. If she had to pick a flaw, it was that he was almost too kind. Alaric asked her if he was just really annoying. She asked who said that. Wondering if he was having roommate trouble. Alaric admitted he hated being in that dorm. Alaric felt deeply wronged, sensing how the other guys were freezing him out. He told her about a guy he knew from before. This guy insists I'm trying to steal his girlfriend, and now we're roommates. We had a fight, and now the whole room is ignoring me. She wanted his name, but Alaric quickly stopped her, saying he didn't want to cause any more trouble. Eleanor scoffed, telling him to let the guy talk. She'd love to see him try talking trash about Alaric in front of her. Meanwhile, I was casually walking around the cafeteria with Seraphina, who kept a close eye on my mood. Since there was nothing good to eat, she suggested another dining hall. I agreed, turning to her because I wanted something specific. I told her about a nearby spot with incredible double-skin milk pudding that I really wanted. But before I could even finish my sentence, guess who we spotted standing together in the distance? In the original story, their relationship hadn't quite turned romantic yet. It looked a bit ambiguous, but neither of them had realized it. It was actually Seraphina's constant, accidental teasing of Alaric in the original plot that made Eleanor jealous enough to realize her true feelings. I froze. Seraphina asked if we were still getting pudding. I just pointed my chin in their direction, and she followed my gaze. Alaric and that girl next to him look like a pretty perfect match, don't they? I sighed dramatically as I looked at Eleanor. Seraphina immediately grabbed my hand, asking what was so interesting about them. Suddenly, Eleanor locked eyes with Seraphina and marched straight toward us. Seraphina calmly asked her if there was a problem. I gently locked my fingers with Seraphina's. I only got this clingy with her when Alaric was around. Eleanor demanded to know which dorm my boyfriend was in, assuming he shared Alaric's room. I scoffed, boyfriend? Glancing at Alaric, Eleanor quickly corrected herself, saying they were just friends, but she heard he was being bullied. She glared at me, pointing out he was in my roommate's dorm. I just laughed out loud. I asked who was bullying him, joking that I'm practically an expert at seeking justice. Eleanor's confident look instantly faltered. Seraphina quietly told me to stop messing around, reminding me that everyone knew I never took anything seriously in high school. She begged me to stay calm and not start trouble again. I raised an eyebrow with a bright smile, telling Alaric that our deep friendship meant I'd never let anyone bully him. So tell me, what exactly are your roommates whispering behind your back? Mind letting me in on it? I thought our dorm vibe was actually pretty chill. Unless you did something shady. Did they find out? This is completely your fault. Stop acting so fake. Alaric refused to say more, pulling Eleanor away. I clicked my tongue. Now, this finally felt like a real, classic villain moment. Your name is Caspian, right? We need to talk, Eleanor said in a freezing tone. Sure, why not? Soon, we were at a cafe. I had absolutely no memory of doing anything actually bad, so I just sat there looking completely relaxed. While Eleanor and Alaric were busy ordering, Seraphina leaned over and whispered directly into my ear. What? I played dumb. Almost fooled. Seraphina lightly flicked my forehead instead. The moment I said my roommate was a cleric, she got a bad feeling. Sure enough, I was already picking on him. Why target him? Eleanor's voice had a pretty cold edge. I laughed inside. No matter how tough she acted, she couldn't match the powerhouse sitting right next to me. She is literally the final boss of this world. Eleanor stared in disbelief. How could this Caspian guy be so shameless? She sighed. Look, you two are roommates for the next 3 years. Let's just wipe the slate clean. Even if you aren't best friends, can you at least promise not to fight? You can literally feel Seraphina's relief here. She genuinely had no idea how this drama would end. I slid my milk tea over to Seraphina because I couldn't finish it, then agreed to Eleanor's peaceful deal. Also, stay away from my girl. Eleanor finally smiled, thanking me for showing her some respect. I want to rest, I murmured, leaning over to plant a quick kiss on Seraphina's cheek. Honestly, Seraphina had an incredibly high tolerance for my nonsense, easily ignoring all of my obvious flaws. I never even touched your girlfriend, Eleanor argued defensively. But whatever, let's just all take a step back. Back at the dorm, Eleanor ran into Seraphina. After thinking for a bit, she admitted things got pretty tense. Did your boyfriend get mad? No. That's good, because I'm treating the whole dorm to drinks tonight. Bring him along. I'll bring Alaric so we can finally bury the hatchet. But Seraphina hated any plan where he was involved. What happened? Eleanor was instantly intrigued. She had asked Alaric for details, but honestly, there was no massive blood feud between them. He just keeps targeting him. It was probably his fault. Please apologize to Alaric for me, but I won't be going. Why say that? Eleanor had a great temper and was highly popular. It's practically just our dorm mates going out to have fun. It wouldn't be right to leave your guy behind. Seraphina was broke, but she knew this was a necessary social thing. Saying no now would basically look like she was rejecting their goodwill. Knowing Seraphina was going out, I specifically told her to drink less. Alaric won't be there, right? What grudge? I don't have one. Suddenly, I realized I was getting way too obsessed. But the guy has absolute protagonist plot armor, so I had to stay guarded. Just grab me some popcorn on your way home. Before she left, I hugged her and sneakily stuffed $500 into her pocket. She tried to refuse, but when she walked in and saw Alaric, her face instantly soured. Alaric didn't want to stay in his dorm alone and has no other friends yet. So it's totally fine, right? Seraphina kept quiet. Alaric was actually pretty likable, and soon he was laughing and blending in perfectly with everyone. While everyone is partying, check out Seraphina. She is completely detached from the whole thing. By the end of dinner, the group got bored and decided to play Truth or Dare. Seraphina couldn't just walk out on them, so she had to bite the bullet and join in. In the very first round, Seraphina got picked. She chose a dare: call her boyfriend and break up right now. Silence. Pure silence. Seeing the vibe freeze, Eleanor quickly jumped in. Come on guys, it was hard enough for them to get together. Don't cause trouble for them. Instead, Seraphina just grabbed a bottle of strong liquor, poured a full glass, threw her head back, and downed it in one shot. In the next round, she didn't dare gamble again. But she had already drunk too fast. By the time they finished, her head was spinning, and everyone else was completely wasted. Curfew was long gone, so Eleanor booked 4 hotel rooms. Unable to handle so many people alone, she instructed Eric to keep an eye on Seraphina, check in first, and use her name. Eric and Seraphina ended up together in the taxi back seat. All that alcohol rushed straight to her head, making her feel pretty awful. Pressed close, their arms shared warmth through blurry, drunken eyes. Seraphina let her head drop onto Eric's shoulder. His entire body went totally stiff as he looked down at her with a heavy expression. She is such a great girl, he thought. Why does she love Caspian? Still, he gently propped her head up against the car window instead. Right after that, he hopped out of the car to buy her some hangover medicine. Seraphina kept muttering about popcorn. But get this, my system sent a massive panic warning, and I rushed right over to save her. Without saying a single word, I pulled Seraphina out of the cab and started carrying her away from there. Suddenly, a voice called out to wait. I turned back and saw Eric holding out a hangover drink. Eric told me to use it for her. Quite surprised, I grabbed the drink, turned around, and immediately walked away. Locked out of the dorms, I checked us into a cheap motel nearby. Seraphina fell into a deep sleep, but her eyebrows were tightly knit. Who knows what she was dreaming about? Her cheeks flushed a pretty soft pink. Honestly, I could not help myself. I slowly reached out, wanting to gently touch her face. But before I could even graze her skin, her eyes snapped open. Instant, awkward silence filled the room. Trust me, the tension here was electric as she suddenly threw herself right into my arms. She whispered about a nightmare, telling me to sleep. It was late. My face went completely, utterly red. Listening to my loud snoring fill the dark room, Seraphina slowly blinked her eyes open, tears quietly spilling out. She could never tell me she was dreaming about that dark alley. In her dream, a boy with a knife stuck in his chest was slowly falling to his knees right in front of her. He grabbed her leg, screaming in pure agony for her to save him. Yet the version of her in that nightmare did not care at all. Cold and totally detached. Not even sounding human. She knelt down with a white-gloved hand to pat his pale cheek, telling him trash like him did not deserve to live. She told him to blame himself for always messing with the wrong people. Telling him not to cross her path in the next life. That memory made her wake up in absolute terror. She always knew she was a cold, broken person. After what the Sue family did to her, she swore to get revenge, no matter how dirty she had to play. If Caspian ever discovered that pitch-black side of her, he would absolutely despise her. She sat up in bed, staring down at me for a very long time. If some god is watching over me, that god's name is Caspian. Now completely sober, she could not fall back asleep. Mostly because my sleeping habits were a complete nightmare. I kept rolling across the bed, randomly grabbing her to cuddle and hold close. She did not dare move a muscle, terrified of waking me up, lying there stiff as a board, enduring it all night. The second my eyes opened, she practically teleported into the bathroom. It took forever for her to come out. She said we should head back, then asked if I knew I drooled in my sleep. I was actually feeling pretty excited, thinking we finally had some sweet, romantic couple vibes going on. But her little comment completely ruined the mood, crushing my romantic dreams instantly. I pouted the entire walk back while she ignored me. But on campus, we ran straight into Eric and Eleanor. Eleanor yelled from behind, asking if I had a minute to talk with her alone. I only paused for a single second before smiling and nodding. We ended up at the milk tea shop on campus. Seeing Seraphina glare at us, I wanted to tell Eleanor it was fine, but unfortunately, it was too late. Eleanor said Eric told her everything, suggesting there might be a massive misunderstanding between us. She claimed he has no interest in stealing my girlfriend. I smirked, asking if Eric ever mentioned how I behaved back in high school. Eleanor went completely quiet, so I answered for her. I have been a total bully since I was a kid. I told her I am targeting him on purpose, asking what she would do about it. Inside my head, I gave myself a massive high five. Honestly, I was playing the role of the toxic villain to absolute perfection. With that, I left, saying my girl was waiting. Military training flew past in a flash. Soon, it was the final night gala for all the platoons. They were practically breaking their backs to win, trying to show off their talents to stand out. There is even a running joke that performing well tonight locks down your dating prospects for the next 4 years. I found a gap in the crowd and slipped right next to Seraphina. I grabbed her hand with a huge grin, which immediately triggered a wave of jealous jeers and whistles from the guys nearby. Usually, she despised being the center of attention, constantly feeling like people judged her with cold, mocking eyes. But right now, she was actually loving every second of it. Suddenly, the guys behind us quietly passed something forward. Seraphina hesitated when she saw they handed us 2 bottles of alcohol. Feeling the cool night breeze, I just smiled and told them thanks. I toasted to our hard-won, crazy difficult love, but she just muttered, "What hard-won love? You wouldn't get it." I took a huge chug while Seraphina stared at me like a cold, emotionless killer. She looked ready to snap my neck. Anyone would be terrified. But thank God I figured out her main weakness. Honestly, guys, people dealing with deep trauma are almost always just starved for real affection. Since she didn't have a safe space to call her own, I resolved to become that sanctuary for her. The thought made me so incredibly happy that I chugged the entire bottle. But the second it was empty, my entire world started spinning violently, and my brain completely turned to mush. Seraphina instantly realized something was off, while the guy who gave us the drinks awkwardly scratched his head. He stammered that it was a crazy strong devil's brew he'd wanted us to try, but he didn't expect her boyfriend to chug it like regular water. He nervously asked if I was okay, but by then I had gone totally silent, staring blankly toward the main stage. The beat suddenly shifted. Before Seraphina could even react, I slipped away from her and squeezed right into the middle of the crowd, crushing the empty bottle in my tight grip. I danced wildly to the beat as she tried to drag me away, making me yell out, "Why are you stopping me?" She snapped that I was acting crazy, but I just laughed and asked if it looked good, boasting that I used to be a top-tier pop idol. I cupped her face in my hands, stared deeply into her eyes, and suddenly planted a warm kiss on her cheek. I mumbled a quiet thank you for giving me the chance to complete my task. But to Seraphina, it was like a movie scene suddenly going completely muted. She asked what I said. But then, a brutal, agonizing surge of pain ripped through my entire body, pushing me to my absolute limit. My legs instantly buckled, and I collapsed to the dirt, leaving Seraphina watching in pure shock as I literally bowed flat on my face. The system's defense mechanism had triggered, punishing me with a massive, high-voltage electric shock. This massive shock instantly burned away all the alcohol, and when I finally opened my eyes, I was flat on the dirt. Seraphina's stunned face was absolutely priceless. I quickly lied that I was just so insanely grateful she became my girlfriend, and bowed because I didn't know how else to express my excitement. She told me to get up, clearly caught between laughing and crying at my obvious nonsense, but she asked if that was my version of showing gratitude. Then she softly asked if my legs hurt. Honestly, it was no big deal. I had endured far worse torment resisting this system in the past, but nobody had ever bothered to ask if I was in pain. Overwhelmed with emotion, I wrapped my arms around her, but my hands started wandering a bit, making her snap at me to stop touching her like that. She stayed silent, and right then, I realized that spending the rest of my days by her side might actually be pretty amazing. I actually asked the system a major question one day. And get this, the system actually told me the number one reason hosts fail S-rank missions is falling in love with their target. We ended up walking back, leaning close to each other, all the way to her dorm. Saying goodbye was tough, and we kept turning back to wave. I knew that if I got too comfortable living like this, I would completely lose my grip on my real mission. Honestly, if the system didn't keep reminding me that the next big phase was starting, I would have easily lost myself in this sweet, playful life with her. Late that night, my phone suddenly rang. I picked it up to hear Seraphina's raspy voice, telling me she had to go back home tomorrow morning. She warned me to stay out of trouble because she didn't know when she'd return. Looking at the timeline, I realized her fateful day was here. I begged her to wait downstairs for just a few minutes because I desperately needed to see her right that second. She went silent for a beat before agreeing, quietly asking if I could tell her what was wrong. When we met, her eyes were completely bloodshot and teary, and seeing my face made her totally break down crying. Having the power to predict the future felt like an absolute curse. Her whole world was collapsing into pain and tragedy, and I felt completely powerless to stop it. Suddenly, a system warning flashed, stating the target's corruption level was rapidly rising. Auntie is a truly wonderful person. She is going to be fine. Good people get protected. Look at you, your eyes are so red. Why not try to sleep a little? I wrapped one arm around her, desperately trying to distract her mind. Hey girlfriend, we are in college now, so this is not considered puppy love anymore, right? Can I finally tell your mom that I am your boyfriend? I really want to officially meet her. Whatever Seraphina was thinking, she just lay quietly in my arms. Pat my head, she whispered. Are you a dog? Well, I heard it makes people feel better. Shouldn't you be the one patting me instead? Laughing softly, I placed my hand gently on her head. So, do you feel any better now? I remembered advising her to study medicine. Honestly, I was pretty biased back then. I just wanted her life to be slightly better. She was a total genius, someone who could make miracles. But life and death are completely heartless. It never spares anyone. The absolute second we reached the hospital, Seraphina bolted straight for the ward. Nearby stood their neighbor, a friendly-looking woman in her 50s. I waved, greeting her warmly. She said she just asked the doctor if I paid the bills up front. She offered to reimburse me $600 for Seraphina. She asked if I was a relative. I told her I lived downstairs, but I am actually Seraphina's boyfriend. That basically counts as family. I begged her not to mention I paid because the girl's pride couldn't take it. Just look at this neighbor's warm, smiling reaction. She clearly knows Seraphina finally found a truly genuine protector after all her painful, bitter suffering. I quietly went over to swipe my card, paying off every single one of her mother's medical bills. Standing right outside the hospital door, I kept reaching out to push it open, but I kept pulling my hand back. Seeing her mother like that terrified me, and seeing Seraphina suffer in silence was even worse. Pacing the quiet hallway for my 10th lap, I frowned, pulled out my phone, and dialed Dr. Thorne. He was our family's private doctor and a close friend of my mother, with powerful connections in every major hospital. And this is the moment our main character decides to fight the original tragic ending. If nothing else, I did not want any regrets later. Honestly, I could not tell if I was doing this to farm affection points from Seraphina, or if I genuinely wanted to help this pitiful villain. The phone rang forever. I knew waking someone up in the dead of night was incredibly rude, but this was a massive emergency. Dr. Thorne did not sound annoyed at all when he answered. He just asked calmly, Caspian, what is wrong? I asked him if he knew any elite brain surgeons at Zhongchang Central Hospital. His sleepiness instantly vanished. He demanded urgently, brain surgery? Did you get into a brutal fight and crack your skull, or did you break someone else? Are you at Central Hospital? Sit tight, I am coming. I sighed, telling him I did not get into a fight. My mouth twitched in disbelief. Dr. Thorne was amazing, but the man was a complete, chaotic whirlwind. He never acted like a careful, serious doctor. I sat on a freezing bench outside. The hallway was completely dark and empty. The AC blasted, making the eerie air feel freezing cold. Suddenly, the hospital door creaked open. I turned around to see Seraphina looking completely pale and exhausted. How is Auntie? She did not answer. She frantically searched her pockets and pulled out a few crumpled, cheap dollar bills. I scratched my head, lowering my voice to speak to her. Please do not get mad, I said. She slowly looked up, her expression freezing cold. It is fine, I will not blame your choice. I saw the scans and spoke to the specialist. The prognosis is terrible. If you want to run away, just leave. I was completely stunned. I wrapped my arms around her tightly, telling her I was not going anywhere. What I really wanted to say was that I already paid all the medical bills. I will never leave. We fight this together. We will win this. I promise. Seraphina felt a sudden rush of tears. The same girl who never cried while getting beaten half to death. Now, she trembled, hugging me back tightly. I am so exhausted, she wept. Why does it always have to be like this? I only wanted a normal, peaceful life. What did I do wrong? Her pale face looked so tragic, her voice shaking with pain. I softly patted her back, begging her not to cry. To be honest, I was completely useless at comforting people. When Dr. Thorne finally arrived, this was the exact sight he walked into. He just stood there with crossed arms, frowning deeply. He recognized her immediately. Why were they clinging to each other? Did this kid actually break her brain like he feared? I turned, meeting Dr. Thorne's deeply amused, teasing gaze. Instantly, my face flushed bright red. Seraphina looked up as well. Seeing a doctor connected to me, she took a couple of cautious steps back. I stepped closer to her side on purpose. Dr. Thorne, let me introduce you. This is my girlfriend. He simply raised an eyebrow in response. That tumor was seriously damaging her brain. I sent Seraphina to grab the diagnosis records and brain scans. Sitting together on a cold bench, I laid it all out. My girl's mother has a brain tumor, and I need the best surgeon alive. Can you call them? Thorne mocked me. Since when do you do charity, Caspian? Thorne's voice was dripping with sarcasm. It looked like falling in love had completely rewired my entire personality. Once Seraphina brought the files, Thorne looked them over. His face fell, and a heavy silence filled the room. The air turned freezing. I swallowed hard. In the original plotline, Seraphina's mother was absolutely destined to die. But I couldn't just accept that. What if I used every single resource I had to find the ultimate specialist? Could we rewrite her fate? Just like I did mine. I was supposed to be dead. Yet here I am. Thorne sighed. Let's talk tomorrow. It's too late tonight, but I'll do what I can. I have a friend in the United States who specializes in neurology. I'll call him and see if it's possible. But don't expect miracles, Caspian. This tumor has been growing inside her brain for years. The risks are massive. We'll talk later. That night, I just held Seraphina close on that cramped hospital bench until morning. Endless medical tests. The doctors wheeled her mother away for examination after examination. Years of struggle had left this poor, gentle woman incredibly weak. After consulting, the doctor gave it to us straight: we recommend a transfer. The surgical danger is just too high, and our local facility lacks the highly specialized experts for this. We highly suggest heading to Shanghai for the top specialists. But prepare yourselves, she'll need a craniotomy and intense chemotherapy. Forget the medical bills, I'll cover everything. Just please get this transfer started right now. I agreed instantly without hesitation. Beside me, Seraphina kept her head lowered, completely lost in her own mind. Remember, they originally fled Shanghai years ago just to escape the grip of the powerful Su family. Now watch this. Going back meant stepping right into the original, tragic storyline I desperately tried to avoid. In the novel, Seraphina had to beg on her knees outside the Su family gates, enduring brutal humiliation just to get the cash. Her mother died anyway. What if we don't go? I asked Dr. Thorne over the phone. He answered right away. Look, the surgery is completely possible, but the local equipment at Zhengchong Hospital just isn't advanced enough. You must head to Shanghai. Standing right beside me, Seraphina heard everything. We will go. Dr. Thorne had set up everything, except for one critical piece. He needed my wealthy father's approval. He couldn't risk his career just on my crazy promises. I kept this hidden from Seraphina. Pretending I needed the restroom, I stepped out. But she was already wide awake. Watching me walk away, she opened her eyes and gently whispered to her sleeping mother, "Mom, don't worry. We'll be fine. We are going to Shanghai and we'll be back soon." Suddenly, her mother spoke up. "Stop hiding it. I heard everything. My beautiful daughter." A tear slipped down her pale face as she whispered about dreaming of when Seraphina was little. "Even back then, you were unlike any other child. You never cried or threw angry fits. You just smiled whenever you saw me, making my hard life entirely worth living. And that boy, Caspian? I really like him too. He cares for you deeply. Remember to treat him with that same kindness when you pay him back someday. Zero regrets, sweetheart. I don't want treatment anymore. I only have a few months left anyway. I'll leave you some savings so his wealthy family won't look down on you. Trust me, I have a plan. I will pay Caspian back every penny. We are going to Shanghai, Mom, so please just focus on recovering, okay?" Meanwhile, I stood in the quiet stairwell, picking at the peeling wall paint. When my wealthy father finally answered, he sounded shocked. Why on earth would his rebellious son call him? His voice was still freezing cold. "What is it? Need more cash? If you're done playing games, drag yourself back home. I smirked. Dad, I want to invite you to watch a show. Saves? Seraphina's? My system warned me about the massive risks of doing this, but I knew the consequences perfectly well. At exactly 12 o'clock, you'll walk into the restaurant and watch a waiter trip, crashing straight onto the floor. Right after that, the front desk cashier will burst out laughing at her phone. In that very second, an old guy with glasses will pass you. My dad scoffed at the ridiculous prediction. Unbelievable, right? Every single event played out exactly down to the second. His mind raced through a million wild theories. His eyes narrowed. Caspian, do you seriously expect me to believe your pathetic little parlor tricks? You hired actors with my cash. I smirked. Look outside at the rain. My dad walked right out of the restaurant and looked up at the cloudless, crystal-clear sky. A wave of irritation washed over him. Rain? This town hasn't seen a drop of rain in half a month. Do you think I don't check the weather forecast? Right at that moment, pitch-black clouds violently rolled in, and a massive downpour instantly crashed from the sky. The hand my dad used to hold his phone started trembling violently. His eyes filled with total, absolute disbelief. The look on his entire face froze instantly. Just look at that, a small smirk crept onto my face. According to the original novel, Jiang Chang, which hadn't seen rain in weeks, would face 3 days of non-stop torrential downpour, starting today. The massive turning point of this entire story kicks off during these exact few days. I know you're a pretty smart man, I said with a soft laugh. If you can actually predict the future, then answer this one question. Will I end up helping you? My dad's lips curled into a predatory smirk. He paused, then declared firmly, I will. I absolutely will. Ha ha, you little brat. Take care of yourself. Dad has got some business to handle. I'm hanging up. In reality, my dad couldn't care less about prophetic powers or how much money they could make him. He didn't even care if my words were true or false. Saving my life only took a single word from him. After all, I was still his real, biological son. Watching his retreating figure, a wave of sheer excitement flashed through my eyes. I quickly dialed Dr. Thorne. I've got my dad's approval, he agreed. You can go ahead and process the transfer. Right after saying that, I hung up, cold sweat pouring down my forehead. My excited expression instantly stiffened up. Every single ounce of strength in my body was suddenly drained away completely. With a heavy thud, I collapsed straight onto the floor, my head slamming against the cold tiles. I just couldn't hold on anymore. Ever since I started actively twisting this plotline, this agonizing raw pain had just been constantly stacking up inside me. Dr. Thorne quickly arranged a private jet for the mother and daughter. On their way to Shanghai, Seraphina never saw me. All my texts went unanswered. Even calls wouldn't connect. After picking up a sudden phone call, Dr. Thorne cast a deeply troubled look toward Seraphina. He apologized. I'm sorry, I can't go to Shanghai with you. My assistant will arrange everything. The man was always a whirlwind. He said he was leaving, and then he was gone. Seraphina frowned. I want to ask, where is Caspian? Is he not coming? Dr. Thorne's expression turned grave and chillingly calm. He's got something he needs to handle. Dr. Thorne's eyes filled with incredibly complex emotions. Just moments ago, my dad had frantically called him back, yelling that something had gone terribly wrong with me. He was driving back like an absolute madman, worried sick the entire way. Seraphina let out a quiet sigh. Maybe it's for the best if he doesn't show up. If they ran into the Su family, all her wretched humiliation would be exposed to Caspian. It was just her pride acting up. She simply didn't want to tear all her raw wounds open for me to see. After losing consciousness, I was immediately transported straight into the system's holding space. Like a regular, I slumped comfortably into a chair and grabbed an apple plot deviation 30%. Spit it out. Which of my organs did you fry with electricity this time? The system sighed. Host, you're far too impatient. I don't regret a thing. I did nothing wrong. Your entire mission time has been drastically cut down to 6 months. How is that not wrong? If you had just followed the plot step by step, you'd have had 3 whole years in this world. That's a long time. Long enough that the future would become completely unpredictable. Now, let me wake up. Remind me, what's the minimum standard to clear an S-rank mission? Blackening level 0%, affection level 50%. Reaching these metrics constitutes a cumulative clear. I slowly opened my eyes in the real world, instantly hearing my dad's roaring voice. What the hell are you talking about? How could my son suddenly suffer heart failure? Shia, please calm down. Watching this dramatic scene, I cleared my throat. Dad. My dad's body froze. He never in a million years would have thought that his arrogant, domineering son was actually this incredibly fragile. So fragile that a single misstep meant even the gods couldn't save him. He just wasn't used to speaking with warmth. With a cold face, he asked, how is your body feeling? I'm okay. I just heard heart failure. Am I going to die? Stop talking nonsense. It's nothing. You just focus on resting and recovering. Don't worry about anything else. I just really wanted to talk to you. Honestly, my dad didn't really want to talk to me. I seemed to have changed completely, yet somehow hadn't changed at all. Has Seraphina left yet? At a critical time like this, why are you still obsessing over that girl? Actually, Seraphina is a good person, as good as my mom. What's so great about her that makes you do this? Because I came to this world specifically for her, I silently said in my heart. Even if you don't like Beatrix, there are others, but none are Seraphina. I left him feeling guilty and deeply frustrated. My dad saw shadows of other people in me, and he completely loathed that feeling. I didn't agree. You know exactly what her poor background is like. Remember, you have an arranged marriage with the Liu family. Do you have any actual idea how much profit is riding on this? If you break this agreement, my losses will be absolutely catastrophic. Surviving without money isn't easy, I know that firsthand. But is that your excuse for lying to my mother? My dad was so angry he was practically choking on his words. I snapped back, your mother was different. Money can be earned again, but there's only one Seraphina. Besides, I don't have many days left to live anyway. Even if I end up broke in the future, it doesn't matter. Forget the money. I just want to be by her side. My eyes instantly welled up with tears. I know you dislike me, Dad, but please don't hurt her. Just help her. Fine, he scoffed. She's just poor, right? I'll give her some cash. That's not what I want. But suddenly, a violent electric shock shot straight through my entire body. My head throbbed with agonizing pain as cold sweat broke out. I blacked out instantly. Then came a voice, "Hello, I'm Caspian's father." Seraphina asked what this was about. He responded, "Did you get the cash?" Her heart skipped a beat. She had already prepared herself for the worst. It was a choice: either save her mother or keep Caspian. The thought of that decision left a bitter taste in her mouth. She replied, "Yes, I got it." He asked, "How is your mother?" "She's being examined." Her voice was incredibly heavy. To force us apart, my dad had directly wired her over $2 million. That money? Caspian literally begged me to send it to you. My dad irritably crushed a cigarette on his desk. Caspian really likes you. I gave you this cash for 2 reasons. First, to save your mom. Second, you must agree to a strict condition. Seraphina stayed silent. Here it comes. My dad demanded I want a signed, written guarantee from you. No matter what happens, you must never abandon Caspian. If you dare betray him, I have 10,000 ways to make you wish you were dead. Thank you, uncle, she whispered. But as for me, I naively thought I'd change the plot forever. Turns out, fate loves a cruel joke. Wait, a hidden plotline? I stared blankly at the flashing system prompt as my face slowly turned pale. I frantically scrambled out of bed and rushed downstairs. If you are just playing with my son, keep the cash anyway, but I hope you will never bother him again. My son has been diagnosed with severe heart failure, but even if he dies, you won't get a single cent of his inheritance. The smile on Seraphina's face vanished. What happened to Caspian? She couldn't understand any of it. It's honestly heartbreaking. The boy laughing by her side days ago was suddenly deathly ill. What on earth happened? Her chest felt tight and incredibly suffocating. Gripping her shirt, her eyes burned as he added, "I hope you keep your promise." With that final warning, my dad hung up the phone. Seraphina felt her entire body go completely limp. She collapsed onto the hard hospital bench, staring blankly out the window at the bridge. The consent forms were signed. The surgery only had a 30% success rate. Their hope was incredibly small. Seraphina realized she had 0 choices as a kid, and even now, she still had none. Everything she did was a gamble, but now, the stakes were absolutely massive. She was gambling with actual human lives. The lead surgeon was a specialist flown in from abroad, and Shanghai treated her like a VIP. Seraphina grew quieter and quieter, often just spacing out alone for long stretches. Her mind raced back and forth. The person she missed most was Caspian. Back then, he was so unbelievably arrogant and overbearing. He'd fight anyone who irritated him. Seraphina smiled weakly. Back then, he absolutely hated her. Yet, looking back, he behaved like a man desperately in love with her. She quietly asked the doctors about his heart failure. From now on, I'd lose the simple ability to run and jump. I'd even lose the right to throw a tantrum. I could only exist like some fragile glass doll, forced to stay perfectly calm forever. As Seraphina sat in the cold hallway, the sharp scent of disinfectant filled the air. The IV drip slowly counted down the seconds, drop by drop. Her mother lay on the gurney with blank, staring eyes. For the first time, she felt this hospital corridor was impossibly long. It was so long you couldn't even see the end. Only the dull, gray-white ceiling stretching forward forever. Absolutely suffocating. Looking back at her chaotic, painful life, she felt like she hadn't accomplished anything before it all began to end. She had a dark premonition. If she fell asleep now, she'd never wake again. Meanwhile, I was running frantically through a freezing downpour, totally exhausted. My mind was almost completely blank. The only thing I could hear was the echoing sound of my own ragged breathing. Seraphina needed me. On the long journey to Shanghai, I didn't close my eyes for a single second. I dialed Seraphina's number over and over again, desperately waiting for her to pick up, but she never did. By 6 a.m., when I finally reached Shanghai First Central Hospital, I was too physically exhausted to even speak. I forced my legs to keep moving, walking straight toward the ward Dr. Thorne told me about. Pushing the door open, I saw Seraphina curled up tight at the foot of the bed, staring blankly. "I'm late," I managed to force the painful words out as our eyes met. Seeing me, Seraphina forced a pretty painful smile. "My mom is gone. She's never coming back." Before she could even finish, I lunged forward, wrapping her tight in my arms. "I'm so incredibly sorry." A heavy, suffocating wave of grief filled the small room. All along the way, I told myself a million times to stay strong. If I broke down, what would she do? Yet here I was, sobbing silently, completely unable to speak. Her eyes were bloodshot. She stared right at me. "Did you sneak out of the hospital, Caspian? You have to take good care of yourself. You're sick, so please go get some proper sleep." Her blackening level hit 100%. When the doctor first came out, he was actually smiling and congratulating us. But barely moments after he walked away, her mother was hit with a critical condition notice. They tried to resuscitate her. Too late. I was completely, utterly exhausted by the time it was over. So drained that I completely missed the system's loud, frantic warning sirens. Wait, look at this. While I was totally out cold, Seraphina had personally gone off on her own to track down Arthur. She desperately wanted him to see her mother one last time. After all, he was the man her mom loved above everyone else. The exact man she refused to disturb, even while literally dying. For years, Arthur had been totally controlled by Vivian. Sometimes, he remembered them. A mother and a daughter he abandoned. He absolutely felt guilty, but never dared to look for them. Luckily, Vivian wasn't around, so he quietly followed Seraphina. "My mother was still thinking about you right up until her final breath. She never wanted you to know. Now that you've seen her, I'm going back to Zhongcheng. This is the absolute last time we ever meet as father and daughter. Just leave now. Nobody else knows about this. I'm too tired. I'm leaving first. Seraphina, I'm truly sorry." The moment he stepped out, he caught me standing right by the morgue entrance. "Was that man inside really your father?" "No," she said. "My father died a long time ago." So, I just stood by her side, watching her handle the funeral all on her own. She didn't go back to Zhongcheng like she told Arthur. Instead, using the money my dad gave her, she bought a quiet cemetery plot. Burial day arrived. A cold, light rain fell steadily in thin, continuous threads. It felt like the world's final piece of pity for us. I watched her scoop a handful of dirt from the grave, sliding it into a small pouch. Tucking it away, she was clearly planning her return. Watch her eyes, she's about to trigger the original, terrifying plotline. In the original novel's timeline, Seraphina ended up staying in Shanghai for a whole month. During those 30 days, she'd find a way to slide close to Vivian's daughter, planting the dark seeds of absolute ruin. Exactly a year later, the bloody harvest would begin. "Are we going back to Jiangcheng?" she asked, her hand feeling chillingly cold. She wanted to reach out and hold my hand, but hers were covered in graveyard dirt. Afraid of getting me dirty, she quietly lowered her arm, staying dead silent. The two of us walked slowly through the graveyard. Aside from us, there wasn't a single soul around. This was easily the most desolate, heartbreaking funeral I'd ever seen. Once again, the original storyline had shattered and changed. No clear picture yet. I could only watch and wait for her next move. "Seraphina, you have to believe me, there is someone in this world who will risk absolutely everything just for you." Those words sounded so incredibly distant. It actually sent a sudden spike of fear straight through Seraphina. She didn't even understand the root of this sudden fear. "You're sick," she murmured, "but I'm fine. Didn't you promise to stay by my side forever? That you'd give me a happy ending?" Her words carried such deep, tragic sorrow. Seeing her breaking down like this made my own body tremble. After all, I couldn't stay with her for a lifetime in this world. Looking at how bad things were going, it felt like a happy ending was completely out of reach. So I just sat there in total silence. Seraphina stared as rain slipped through her fingers, leaving tracks that looked just like tears. She could not hold the water. She could not save anyone. She pleaded, "You promise to keep your word. You are all I have left." Back from Shanghai, I spent every single day tossing and turning in a cold hospital bed. I was desperately trying to plan our next move. Sure, I had actually made her fall in love with me, but her dark corruption had not slowed down at all. My time was running out, only 6 months left. I would not even survive to see her execute her grand revenge plan. I frowned deeply. There is absolutely no way I will let Seraphina fall into that dark abyss. Once she takes that plunge, there is no going back. The system instantly senses my panic and tries to stop me. Host, think twice. This is absolutely not a game. If she is destined to do these terrible things, why can't I do them? If I become the ultimate villain, she will stay innocent. Isn't that its own form of salvation? A dark, terrifying plan forms in my mind. Seraphina, I will take your sins. I told you both to leave. If I catch you setting foot in Shanghai again, you will pay the price. Those harsh words echo in Seraphina's ears like a demonic chant she can never shake off. Seraphina jolts awake. All these years, she never went looking for trouble, living a quiet, lowly life, just trying to survive. She never wanted to stand in anyone's way. But some simply hated her existence. They relentlessly pushed her toward a dead end. Then, the doctor showed her the scans. Someone pulled her mother's life support plug. Her wound was infected by some unknown object. Everyone in the room avoids her gaze. The security cameras coincidentally failed, and no one dares to speak the truth. They do not dare. A profound helplessness grips her heart, like invisible hands choking her throat. Vivian, your biggest mistake was not killing me too. Now, I am coming for you. I lay in bed planning. See, in the original story, Seraphina totally ruins Su Qian, the Su family heiress. She drags her down step by step, totally wrecking her reputation, and even hires someone to seduce Arthur. Crushed by her daughter going to prison and her husband's shameless cheating, Vivian completely loses her mind. But the final blow is her husband drinking poison, leaving behind a massive will. Seraphina gets all his shares. And get this, Arthur wrote that will himself. Once he realized what Vivian did to Seraphina and her mom, he secretly signed everything over. Just a sad attempt to ease his guilty conscience. Still, with things as they are, I must act. I cannot let Seraphina do the dirty work, but I also cannot just force the plot myself. I stayed up all night thinking, but came up completely empty. The next morning, my dad shows up furious. He knows I snuck out while sick to find Seraphina, and he is absolutely livid. He expected so much from me, only for his son to run off for a girl. He walks in holding a thermos of chicken soup. For once, I actually smile at him. He immediately knows something bad is coming. Dad, want to expand your business to Shanghai? He stays silent before telling me to let adults handle things. Kids should not interfere. But then I tell him flatly, Seraphina's mother is dead. There is zero emotion on my face. My cold logic is so chilling it makes my dad feel like he is looking at a stranger. She was murdered by Arthur's wife, Vivian. Ask yourself what she wants most right now. She needs a knife. If I can help her grab that weapon right now, she will tear a layer of skin right off the Su family. And if that blade points right at Su Qian, their only daughter? Honestly, just imagine the absolute chaos. My dad just stares blankly. Is this really his useless playboy son? He asks how Seraphina could possibly know all this. If she put those words in your mouth, she is a dangerous weapon. How do you know she won't turn on you next? A girl like that is too dangerous, and I cannot let my son get hurt. But I can't guarantee my safety. I am running out of time. I have fought way too hard to give up now, and go back as a failure. My dad actually sees a massive business opportunity here. It looks like he wants to have a private talk with Seraphina. I am stuck in that hospital bed for over 2 weeks, and Seraphina seems incredibly busy. She barely visits. But whenever she does show up, her vibe is completely different. It is like she grew up overnight the second her mother died. Before, she used to tease me with sarcastic jokes. Now, every single visit is just polite, empty pleasantries. If her system affection score was not steadily climbing daily, I would think she was seeing someone else. But I get discharged tomorrow. I ask when she is free so we can head back to school together, but she just apologizes. Seraphina tightens her hand into a fist, smiling gently. She says she must go to Shanghai tomorrow, making me instantly ask why. I frown immediately. What did my dad set up? Is he really forcing her to handle those dirty, ruthless schemes all on her own again? Arthur ran into some trouble over there. He asked me to head back. Don't worry. I can handle this. Just stay out of it. Okay? I kept quiet. She chose her path. No matter the future, she had to walk it. My silence was her agreement. Once she left, I called my dad. What did you tell Seraphina? He chuckled, calling her a prime piece of material. Totally ruthless. She never pulls her punches, not even against her own flesh and blood. His praise did not make me proud. It sent a chill down my spine. Was she still going down that road? You promised her the weapon. But what did you ask her to do? He shrugged, saying it was just a little dirt. Don't worry. She is my future daughter-in-law. Even if she does not care about clean hands, I care about our family name. Aren't you getting discharged today? Just go rest at home. No, I am going back. I had to beat her to Shanghai. I had to finish her plan before she even started. But wait, something feels terribly off here. The one heading down a path of no return? It wasn't Seraphina. It was me. That night, Seraphina barely slept a wink. No matter what, Caspian was her entire world. She had neglected me a bit lately, but only because she was absolutely terrified of losing me. Terrified that I would worry and agonize over her all over again. She bought my favorite treats and picked up some fresh flowers. But when she pushed open my hospital door, the room was empty. By the time I finally answered her call, I was already in Shanghai. Staring at the bustling traffic and the wild neon streets, I felt completely dazed. Seeing 42 missed calls, I knew she had already figured me out. Where are you? Seraphina was desperately weaving through the busy train station. Under a dark sky ready to pour, I answered her call. What are you doing in Shanghai? Just doing what you wanted to do. I know you wanted me out of this, but remember, I am the only one allowed to mess with you. Nobody else. My goal is to collect the Su family debts. Just promise me one thing in return. Whatever happens, please promise to love this world. Just consider it payment for everything I have done for you, okay? Why should I listen to you, Caspian? Are you completely insane? I never asked for your help. I am a human being, not some useless pet you are raising. Do you even realize this is my family business? What are you to me? What right do you have to interfere in my life? Are you trying to be some superhero who controls everything? Her eyes were red, her lips trembling with pure fury. The line went dead. Tears in her eyes. Seraphina boarded the train. Leaning against the window, her mind filled with every memory of us. From head to toe, Caspian was always completely different. He had brought miracles into her life. But hearing her furious, pressing questions, I was actually starting to panic a little. Did I really mess up? I stood at the train station with takeout, waiting for her arrival. Hours passed, and still nothing. You can feel the tension as I stood there, lost in thought, until she finally showed up. Waiting for you. Are you tired? I bought some food, but she snapped. Do not speak to me right now. She grabbed me and dragged me right out of the station. Her face made it very clear she was absolutely furious. Do you know what would happen if you ran to Shanghai alone and things went completely wrong? She poked my forehead hard, asking what was even inside my brain. I smiled. It is you, Seraphina. I took her hand and grinned like a fool. My head is completely filled with thoughts of you. You still dare to joke? Then she noticed the 2 portions of food, and her angry look softened a bit. Have you really not eaten yet? I nodded. She sighed, asking if I planned on starving if she hadn't come. Do not ever do this again. Yes, girlfriend. We walked together through the warm night streets of Shanghai. The wind felt warm and heavy. She walked behind me, wrapping her pinky around mine so I wouldn't get lost. I turned, and our eyes met. Her eyes were still misty with unshed tears, looking completely lost in the moment. She asked casually what I thought she had come to Shanghai to do. Seraphina was genuinely curious about my thoughts. I thought about it seriously before answering. I was afraid you wanted revenge. She scoffed. Shouldn't I hate them? We live in a society ruled by law now. There are gentler ways to handle them. Like what? She asked. I have not decided yet. She smiled faintly, repeating my words about a society ruled by law. Your father actually asked me to retrieve something from the Su family. She reached out, gently wiping away a smudge of ice cream near my mouth. I stared at her in total shock. My expression clearly amused her. She slowly brought her finger to her lips and licked it. She said the ice cream was pretty sweet. I wasn't blushing out of shyness. I was terrified. Is infiltrating the Su family estate really that easy? Years ago, Seraphina literally ruined her knees, just kneeling outside their locked gates. Vivian was a notoriously overbearing woman. Even when Seraphina was just a kid, Vivian constantly tortured her. Her motives likely stemmed from deep-seated insecurity. Vivian was terrified Arthur would rekindle his romance with Seraphina's mother. But Seraphina's playful tease just now was honestly incredibly distracting. My face slowly burned red as I muttered absolute menace. I didn't know if she heard me. Go back to Jiangchong tomorrow, I told her. She refused. I stood my ground on this. She declared she wasn't returning to the Sus, and catching her wouldn't be easy at all. Seraphina stared at me for a long time, asking why I was helping her. Her eyes swam with complex emotions. Calling me Caspian, she noted I was hiding secrets. Every single word she spoke made my heart do backflips. This blatant probe was way too dangerous. I played dumb about the secrets, while she begged to stay in Shanghai without trouble. She asked why leaving her meant I would literally die. I laughed that it wasn't that extreme, I just wanted to guard her. Besides, such Keon isn't even here. I was genuinely surprised at myself. Why bring him up out of nowhere? I knew he was still studying in Jiangchong. How could he possibly show up in Shanghai? Seraphina's mind raced. But what if he suddenly appeared? My heart skipped a beat. Forget it. If she wanted to stay, we would stay together. I booked a hotel room as close to the Su family estate as possible. Seraphina saw right through me, but stayed perfectly calm. Before leaving, she leaned in and told me to stay put and wait for her to come back. I agreed to watch and wait. You know I had to see exactly what she was planning. The system's voyeur function originally cost points, but I haggled mercilessly with the assistant AI to unlock it for free as compensation. From the moment Seraphina stepped out of the hotel, her every move streamed directly into my head, playing out like a high-definition movie. She looked up toward my room, and our eyes actually seemed to meet. My heart fluttered. Even knowing it was impossible for her to detect the voyeur function, making eye contact still sent my pulse racing. A dull ache throbbed inside my chest. She took a taxi to the Su estate, staring blankly at the towering skyscrapers outside her window. Her mood was exceptionally low, wondering what my goal actually was. She had been absolutely obsessing over this lately. I always appeared at the exact right moment, without any logical pattern to my actions. Originally, she simply assumed I was playing a game, believing I would eventually get bored and dump her. But I hadn't. I had even resorted to obsessive, almost unhinged behaviors just to protect her. Seraphina pinched the bridge of her nose, letting out a long, heavy sigh. Even after all this time together, she still couldn't understand me. She couldn't understand me at all. Soon, Seraphina arrived at the luxurious Su family villa completely alone. Compared to previous years, the massive villa now carried an air of faded glory. She knocked on the front doors. This was vastly different from the original book. In the original story, Seraphina manipulated Such Chien first, entering only when he brought her to a family banquet. Back then, Vivian's face had been an absolute kaleidoscope of shocked colors. But check this out this time. She marched straight up to the door. During that brief yet agonizingly long 1-minute wait, Seraphina appeared calm on the surface, but her palms were slick with sweat. Vivian opened the door and hesitated. She asked who Seraphina wanted, and Seraphina coldly replied, "Looking for you." Seraphina looked Vivian dead in the eye, saying, "Long time no see. Auntie Vivian." "What?" Vivian sneered, asking if she forgot being driven out of Shanghai years ago, and if she was regretting it now. Seraphina's response was sharp and decisive. With a polite, gentle smile, she asked Auntie Vivian if she knew the saying, "Every action has a price to pay." By the time I practically crawled into the hospital, Seraphina was still in the emergency room. The hallway outside was completely empty. Not a single soul was there. I specifically checked on Arthur's hospital room. He was well protected by Seraphina, only suffering minor superficial injuries. The doctor arrived, asking if the relatives were here. Looking at the empty corridor, the doctor seemed somewhat bewildered. This was probably their first time encountering such a weird situation. I quickly wiped my tears, stood up, and introduced myself as Seraphina's boyfriend. I asked how she was doing. The doctor said the surgery was successful, they were finishing up, and needed my signature. I glanced down. It was the medical bill. I signed my name with practiced ease. Standing by the door, I waited until the surgery light finally went out. When they wheeled Seraphina out, her eyes were wide open. "Seraphina." I rushed over to grab her hand, but she was covered in bandages. I was terrified of hurting her, asking why she was here and how she felt. She muttered that she was just dizzy, but the doctor warned me she was weak and needed rest. "Do not be afraid," I whispered. "I will never let anyone hurt you again." Her life meant more than my own. Seraphina suddenly reached out, weakly clutching my clothes. She was panicked, begging me not to go. "Rest well," I promised. Seraphina rarely saw my back. Whenever we walked, I intentionally lagged 2 steps behind just to watch over her. She was always leading the way, but as the elevator doors closed, my retreating figure vanished into the gap. She could not reach me. That heavy sense of loss made her dizziness spiral completely out of control. Finally, she drifted into a deep sleep. I leaned against the cold hallway wall, thinking, was Vivian behind this? No. Even though she was domineering and spoiled at her core, she was still a deeply vulnerable woman. She acted tough, but carrying everything alone was exhausting her. Then who could it be? I bit my lip. And trust me, whether Vivian actually ordered this hit or not, she was definitely taking the fall. Suddenly, I craved some candy, even though I do not have a sweet tooth. I bought a bunch, stuffing my pockets full. Waiting until the crowd in Arthur's room cleared out, I slipped inside. Arthur snapped out of his daze, looking at me. Seeing a young face, trying hard to look cold and mature, he demanded to know who I was. Your wife is trying to kill you, I told him. Arthur frowned, not looking completely shocked by the news. Since Seraphina arrived, his relationship with Vivian had plummeted straight to below freezing. The sole reason he had not contacted Seraphina was because he feared Vivian might pull something completely drastic. He warned against throwing wild accusations around. I just asked if he wanted proof, telling him to wait right there. This meeting is a secret. She provoked someone she absolutely should not have messed with. Even if you do not act, I will not let her off. After I walked out, Arthur sat there, completely lost in thought. Someone she should not have provoked. Who on earth was that boy? Meanwhile, I was just wandering aimlessly around the hospital. Now look at this, my system panicked because the entire plot just derailed from the original timeline. Check her status, I said. Blackening level is 70%. Do you know why people feel hatred? My AI assistant could not grasp human logic and dumbly asked why. I told it, because they face prejudice. Because they are utterly powerless. Because they refuse to accept their fate. Even if I do not understand how you calculate a blackening level, what she is feeling is not corruption. These are just normal, justified emotions any human would feel. If you expect her to stay peaceful and good under these conditions, forget it. Even I would go absolutely insane. The system asked what I planned to do. Looking lost, I murmured that because her novel path is notoriously evil, I cannot gamble. I am terrified she will walk down that exact same path. If others owe her, I will collect. If she is powerless, I will hand her the blade. If she refuses her cruel fate, I will stand by her side. If I do all of this, I refuse to believe she will still turn evil and betray me. She might not turn evil, but you have, the system chimed in ominously. It knew I always ignored logic and reason. Even though I told Arthur I would find evidence, I did absolutely nothing of the sort. Once the coast was clear, I slipped back into her room to watch over her. This time, we had a real talk. Was the attack actually Vivian? I frowned. Is she really that ruthless? Seraphina smiled weakly, saying Vivian only wanted to scare us. I actually negotiated with the assailants myself. I told them to hit harder to make it look completely real. I gasped, asking if she realized she almost died. No matter what is at stake, you can never use your own life to achieve your goals. But this was the easiest way to secure Arthur's trust. And since Vivian targeted us, there is a clear paper trail. I can pin the whole thing on her. As she stared at me, I reached out and gently ruffled her hair. Over the next few days, Arthur actually started investigating his wife. That strange kid never showed up again. Lying in his hospital bed, Arthur felt a dark, chilling dread seep straight into his bones. Vivian brings him homemade soup, but he does not touch a single drop, terrified she is trying to poison him. When Vivian heard about the near-fatal crash, she genuinely panicked. Even though the car had its brake lines sliced and the driver kept completely quiet, she never expected those hired thugs to act so recklessly. Please go home. Arthur sighs heavily. He has put up with Vivian for way too long. He is just so incredibly tired. Every time he looks at Vivian, he feels a blade hanging over his neck, ready to drop at any second. The moment she leaves, Arthur springs into action. Since she is willing to be this utterly ruthless, she cannot blame him for throwing away all family ties. Honestly, I did not expect this plot to move so fast. Seeing the Sioux Corporation plastered all over the front pages left me completely dumbfounded. Seraphina, look. Stock prices are plummeting, their marriage is shattered. Plastered everywhere are scandalous, blurry photos of Vivian looking utterly ruined and ridiculous. The online comments are even more brutal. I click my tongue, my face filled with deep worry. You did not do this, right? We have been together 24/7, so you had no time. It must be Arthur. What do you think happens next? Probably total public warfare. How could he destroy his own wife like this? For the sake of the company, sign this divorce paper. Arthur, you ungrateful bastard. I should have let that car crush and kill you. So you finally admitted I have tolerated you for too long. What did her mother ever do to deserve this? You tried to kill her. Just think about how many years I spent with you. Did you ever truly care about me? You literally kept your old lover's photo hidden under our bed. Have you no shame left? Let me tell you something. Arthur, you killed her with your constant cheating. That eternal love you promised me, is this it? You are completely out of your mind. Now sign the papers. I have done everything possible for you. The drama of the Sioux family finally peaks. And miraculously, none of it was caused by Seraphina. And yet, I do not feel happy. Get ready, because the story is officially entering its final countdown. A quiet sadness blooms in my chest. I cannot tell if it is lingering guilt or just dreading the departure. Once love starts, heartbreak begins its countdown. Over the next few days, I will hit the office and secure what your father needs. My tone is pretty cold. Actually, you do not have to, she replies. I know what my father wants. He just wants to crush Arthur's company and build a base in Shanghai. But do you really want power and money? The Su family is absolute chaos right now. If we strike harder, I have a plan, but my words freeze because Seraphina is staring directly at me. Her eyes hold a strange, unreadable emotion as she whispers that she never wanted any of that. Seraphina's voice is completely flat as she admits she never felt like part of the Su family. Maybe I am just imagining things, but her tone suddenly feels heavy. Did you know from the start that I was connected to the Su family? Is that why you were so good to me? Do you want the Su Corporation? I quickly turn away. I did not mean it that way. I just thought if you wanted it, I would go fight for it. It feels like I messed up again. I was too obsessed with chasing the original story, constantly pushing her down a path that was already set in stone. Did she actually want power back then? But I had no other choice. I just looked down, staying dead silent. Once I disappear, she will be totally alone with no one left to trust. Just thinking about that makes me incredibly anxious. Have you ever heard the saying? Nobody stays with you until the very end. Seraphina completely freezes. She snaps in sudden anger. What are you implying? I just mean that life is full of unpredictable accidents. Forget it. If you do not want it, then let it go, as long as you are happy. Caspian, I told you before. I hate when you hide things. Seraphina does not let go of my hand. Instead, she squeezes it even tighter. If you have something to say, just say it. I will do whatever you want me to do, but please, stop acting like you are leaving forever. My wrist hurts from her hold. Under my silent stare, her anger finally crumbles into pure, raw vulnerability. Her voice is soft and pleading now, her eyes completely rimmed with red. She looks so incredibly pitiful, whispering that she is sorry. She is just scared. And if I do not like how she acts, she can change. No, I pull her into a tight hug, telling her she does not need to change and that I will never say those things again. You want me to study medicine, right? I will retake the exams this year and work hard. I will study so hard. Just wait for me. I still want to grow old together. Please, she begs. Just promise me that. Looking like a terrified child afraid of losing her favorite toy, I force myself to agree, telling her she has to live a good life. I told her I like people who are kind and pure. Her expression shifted. Kind and pure. She had no clue what that even meant, but if that is what I liked, she would learn to be exactly that. Her methods were fast. Since Arthur trusted her completely, she easily slipped right into his locked office. The second he stepped out, she plugged a USB drive into his computer. All of Vivian's dirty secrets were exposed. On the day of the trial, Seraphina quietly slipped away to see the woman, who looked completely exhausted. Her role in her mother's death stayed hidden for now. Instead, the trial focused on another scandal reporters had uncovered. Another one of Arthur's dirty affairs. A girl 7 months pregnant died on the operating table, using practically identical methods. Time to go. Hearing Vivian was sentenced to prison, I gently grabbed Seraphina's hand. Whatever the case, she finally got her punishment. The law catches up eventually, though Seraphina just stayed completely quiet. Walking out of the courthouse, I stretched lazily. Suddenly, Seraphina wrapped her arms around me tight. She whispered thank you, her level dropping to 30. You should thank yourself too, I smiled. She had survived such a bitter life. Patting her messy hair, I told her she did a great job. Honestly, I also needed to thank her for sparing my life. Thank her for letting me actually finish this mission. Smiling, I pulled out my phone and dialed my dad. It was over. I called my dad to check if he got everything he wanted. He did. At a massive public event, he proudly announced she was my fiancée. He promised a grand wedding right after we graduated. But that very night, the mighty Su Corporation plunged into a fatal crisis. Arthur's computer had way too much illegal dirt. My dad used it to strike a massive deal, securing our place in Shanghai. Word got around that Seraphina's father was locked up for tax evasion and bribing officials. Yet she remained totally indifferent. Even when Arthur begged to see her, she did not care at all. Watching me eat a popsicle, Seraphina pouted, asking if I was eating way too many of them lately. I froze up. Since my mission was ending pretty soon, I just wanted to enjoy my remaining time here. Honestly, I had no clue what my real life was even like, and being a wealthy heir was pretty awesome. Saying I eat what I want, I froze as she suddenly snatched my popsicle and took a bite. I offered to buy her one, but she snapped that I cannot eat cold stuff. Since I ignored my heart condition, she would manage it. The cold made her jaw shiver slightly. Right then, Her blackening level was hovering right around 5. Honestly, I was completely stumped here. What could possibly trigger her to blacken at this point? Technically, everyone on her hit list had already met their miserable, well-deserved ends. She suddenly mentioned she was dropping out of university, pinching my cheeks when I asked why she forgot her medical dreams. Actually, she admitted she simply did not trust other doctors to treat me, even if there were plenty around. I told her she should study what she loved, but she softly replied that my wishes were her joy. Her professors begged her to stay, but she refused. Soon after, I rented a small apartment for us nearby. Every day after my classes, I would find her either grinding through practice exams or studying thick medical textbooks. Days flew by. Her blackening level still refused to drop down to absolute 0. What was her final, lingering issue? I could only lay in bed, obsessing over the original plotline for hours. We had hit a total stalemate. I felt completely useless, especially since half of my 6-month limit was already gone. Hugging her around the waist, I teased her for being so domestic, telling her to cook whatever she wanted. I loved everything she made. She chuckled softly, promising to wait for me. Whenever we were together, one specific phrase came to mind. Like an old married couple, I waved goodbye and stepped right into the elevator. Imagining her actually becoming my wife someday filled me with this incredibly strange, beautiful, yet absolutely terrifying feeling. Once class ended, I headed straight to the supermarket, noticing the dark clouds threatening to dump rain. But then, things take a wild turn. Glancing down the supermarket aisle, my feet froze to the floor. That guy looked way too familiar. It was the exact same thug who had brutally attacked Seraphina's mother all those years ago. Back then, he acted like he was completely untouchable, but I did not remember Seraphina ever going after him for revenge. Could her remaining 5% blackening level be tied directly to this guy? Right now, he was shouting at a cashier. I pretended to shop, quietly listening to their petty, vulgar argument while casually grabbing a few random items nearby. When he turned to leave, I immediately followed him. After quickly paying, I clutched my meager groceries and quietly trailed behind him. He hopped in a car. I told my driver to follow. The man drove through a chaotic maze of streets, finally stopping at a dilapidated, run-down house. Right after he stepped inside, the agonizing sound of a woman crying echoed out, mixed with shattering objects. I didn't hesitate for a single second. I quickly dialed 911. Help! There's a fight here. A man is beating a woman to death. 74 Qingjiang Road. She looks like she's dying. Having done my job, I told my driver to park in a hidden corner. I waited for the police. Soon, they dragged him out in handcuffs. Quickly snapping a photo, I planned to show Seraphina. Just wait for her blackening level to hit 0. Then I can finally leave this world. Seraphina had already checked my schedule twice. I was 2 hours later than usual, and she frowned. Right as she reached for her phone, she heard the door handle turn. The dinner was completely cold, but I honestly didn't care. I shoved some cold food into my mouth and walked out. Seriously, you guys won't believe the crazy drama I saw on my way home. Seraphina sighed, looking utterly helpless. Why didn't you text me? She asked. I honestly thought something terrible had happened to you. What could possibly happen to me? I thought her worry was a bit strange, so I just grabbed my phone. I saw this guy beating his wife, so I called the cops. Look at him getting dragged away. Pretty satisfying, right? Seraphina took my phone. Her eyes went completely wide. Villain blackening level 90. I had successfully cleared all the main plot points. I even managed to make her fall in love with me, but her blackening level stubbornly stayed at 5, refusing to hit 0. Coincidentally, while buying groceries today, I literally ran right into the thug who assaulted her mother years ago. I followed him to a dark slum, hearing a woman screaming in pain. Without hesitation, I called the police and snapped a photo of his arrest, but Seraphina's blackening level instantly skyrocketed straight to 90. She looked at me with an eerie, dead calm expression, and a classic saying instantly popped into my head. You know how the ocean gets eerily quiet before a massive storm? Yeah. I swallowed hard. I started stuttering. Do you actually know him? If you want to find him, you will probably need to visit the police station. He is clearly a bad guy, and he definitely won't be getting out anytime soon. Where exactly did you see him? Why did you even go to a place like that? I was just bored and wandering. Can you stop doing this? Seraphina stared silently at me for a very long time before she finally let out a sigh. Her blackening level dropped alongside her sigh, resting right back at that cursed 5% line. I have honestly never hated the number 5 so much in my entire life. That grudge had nothing to do with her level. Wash your hands now, she said, and let's eat. Next time you are going to be late, let me know. No matter what, you must tell me first. Seraphina frowned, asking if her acting like this was bad. No, it is totally fine, I quickly lied. She went completely silent. She sat across the table, lost in her thoughts. I had noticed that Seraphina was zoning out a lot lately. Her mood was incredibly volatile. The updates on her affection level popped up 3 times a day, even on quiet days. Thank goodness it never dropped below 50. To ease the tension, I just rambled about random things from school. Seraphina suddenly cut me off, asking if the food was good. I said it was delicious. Then why is your mouth still moving? The room instantly froze, making me pause and think. Are you actually annoyed at me? She admitted she hates when I praise other people. Even a little bit. She was suffering from major separation anxiety. Rubbing her eyebrows, she announced she was full and would wash up later. We are going to school together this afternoon. Honestly, I had zero clue what I did wrong. I just watched helplessly as she walked away. I guess Seraphina really does operate on a completely different level. She walked me right to my classroom, finally running into the classmate I had been talking about so much lately. The girl was pretty and delicate, flashing a bright smile when she saw me. Seraphina's lips instantly curled into a freezing sneer. I had praised this classmate's fashion sense several times before. Additionally, I told Seraphina she seemed aloof and friendless, yet she was always incredibly sweet and friendly to me. I was oblivious to how much attention I was paying her. Seraphina quietly judged the girl, looking her up and down. Then she planted a firm kiss on my cheek, telling me to study hard. The entire class knew my girlfriend was stunning. Seeing her in person today proved all those rumors. I guess I'm off to class. Wait up for me. Suddenly, remembering the upcoming mixer, this random girl walked over holding some room temperature green tea. Handing it over, she said she did not want it, and basically told Caspian to just go to class. She whispered, asking if Caspian's girlfriend had a bad temper, since she glared so fiercely just now. Claiming girls understand girls best, she asked if they just started dating. Caspian simply nodded and handed the tea back. He told her his girlfriend buys his drinks. Meanwhile, Seraphina, who he was constantly thinking about, seemed to sense something. She stood by the window deep in thought. There were honestly too many things about him she could not understand. She knew he would never hurt her, even though every single move he made felt like ripping his own heart out. What was his actual goal? You have to wonder what he wanted from her. Seraphina still had no clue, and maybe she did not want to understand anymore. Foolish self-deception still offered some hope. Like, maybe he could just keep lying to her like this for their entire lives. What exactly is going on in her head? This question has been absolute torture for him. He desperately wanted to ask what regrets she still holds. Seraphina acted like his 24/7 best friend and bodyguard, practically wanting to shrink him down and keep him safe in her pocket. Honestly, if this was not a mission, spending a quiet, peaceful life with her would not be a bad deal at all. New Year's is coming, Seraphina suddenly said, breaking his train of thought. We have known each other for almost a year now. Hearing that, his first instinct was to nod, but then he froze. He turned and looked at her in absolute shock. You are remembering it wrong, she said. We have known each other for 2 years. Can you spend New Year's with me? Just the two of us, she added, looking straight at him. Seeing the clear panic in her eyes, he quickly nodded. Sure. Originally, his dad wanted both of them to come home for New Year's. But when he told his dad he was spending it alone with Seraphina, his dad fell silent before letting him go. He told Caspian to ask if he needed anything, sighing that a son should never have to thank his own father. Winter break arrived, but Caspian barely felt connected. She asked why he had moved all his stuff out of the dorm. Was he not planning to return next year? He looked away, because that was exactly his plan. He planned to stay glued to her all winter. His goal? Grind her blackening level down to 0 as fast as possible. Caspian told her he moved out ages ago, and was just using this chance to bring the rest over. Seraphina just bit her lip in silence. As the days marched on, the festive holiday atmosphere grew thicker and thicker. She was taking this holiday pretty seriously, scrubbing their entire apartment spotless way ahead of time. Asking if she was unhappy, she replied that she had him. Caspian bent down to check her expression. Did he do something to upset her? Putting down her broom, her lips curved into a smile, though she looked pale. She was just thinking about how her mom could not celebrate with them this year. Feeling out of place was hard. Caspian stiffened, quickly hiding his panic while apologizing, though she said it was fine. Fate decides life and death, but it does not matter. She told him he had her by his side now. He promised to stay by her side forever if she wanted. But she did not look happy at all. Caspian swore he would never lie to her. You better not, she replied. Her behavior lately was feeling pretty off. He anxiously waited for New Year's. But when she brings this out? Man, his heart drops. Remembering his last wild drunken incident, he watched in shock as she slowly uncorked a bottle of red wine. No way, absolutely not, he protested. But she poured a glass, reminding him they were totally alone. She was not afraid of getting drunk, calling him cute when buzzed as she pushed the glass to his lips. Since he refused to drink, Seraphina poured a heavy glass for herself instead. She clinked her glass, toasted to our meeting, and downed the whole thing. His heart stopped as she poured another. With her drinking way too fast, he quickly blocked the glass with his hand, begging her to stop. He warned she would feel awful later, offering to drink instead. But she refused. Was he scared he would slip up and confess something? Caspian froze completely, trying to play it off as drama. He claimed he just acts foolish when drunk and hates losing face around her. She softly whispered, "Liar." She accused him of lying. Gritting his teeth, he claimed his bad health prevented him. Seraphina jolted, suddenly remembering the danger. She quickly pulled the alcohol away, apologizing that she completely forgot. She was clearly suspicious of me, dissecting every single thing I had ever done. Incident by agonizing incident. My lies were full of holes. I couldn't wait anymore. So get ready. Because I had to strike first. Everything depended on this next move. I spent half the night looking after a highly intoxicated Seraphina. Her heavy stare made my scalp prickle. I waved a hand in front of her eyes, but she irritably swatted me away. She sat there dazed for a long moment, then gestured for me to come closer so she could ask some questions. She told me to answer honestly. After a brief pause, I nodded, and she grabbed my wrist with bloodshot eyes. She looked dead serious, but deeply depressed. Then she looked up, her expression completely empty. She asked if I really liked her. I hesitated, then nodded. But she definitely caught that split-second delay. She demanded to know if I had an ulterior motive. I kept a straight face, asking if loving her was not enough. Suddenly, Seraphina pulled me into a tight embrace, begging me not to lie. Her voice was barely a fragile whisper. The smell of liquor and her hot breath brushed my ear, making my face flush red-hot. She told me anyone could lie to her, except me. Honestly, I felt a faint chill of killing intent there. Her voice softened with deep tenderness, adding that she only trusted me. Nobody else. Suddenly she reached into her pockets. "Trust me, you would want to jump back too." I was terrified she would pull a weapon and end me right here. Her hands shook, and my heart was absolutely racing. I shut my eyes tight, bracing for a strike, but she just offered me candy and wished me Happy New Year. She said it would help me feel better, then looked down, asking to kiss me as she leaned closer. My heart pounded furiously like a jackhammer. I just stared at her with wide eyes, utterly frozen on what to do. Millimeters away from my lips, she stopped. She stared at me in silence, suggesting we go to sleep. My throat felt completely dry. I weakly mumbled that we should wait since she had been drinking. Seraphina said nothing else. She headed straight into the bathroom, leaving me sitting there in complete confusion. Outside, the sudden roar of firecrackers shattered the silence. Brilliant fireworks painted the dark night sky. I stared blankly out the window, a lonely feeling reflecting in my eyes. But behind the closed bathroom door, Seraphina was staring at her reflection in the mirror. She turned on the faucet and wept, releasing an agonizing, quiet sob that went on for a very long time, venting deep sorrow. By the time she stepped out, I was crashed on the couch, sleeping like a log. My phone screen glowed with an active call. Gently, Seraphina grabbed a blanket and wrapped it around my shoulders. She sat beside me, keeping watch the entire night. When I opened my eyes, I met her exhausted, bloodshot gaze. She whispered good morning, but the system notification about her villain status instantly jolted me awake. My heart pounded furiously. The system showed her corruption level at 0, and her affection at 80. "Congratulations, host. You have completed the mission. Your reward is 1,000 points. Asked if I wanted to leave. My body shook. As I frowned, Seraphina immediately looked concerned. She asked if I was sick. I whispered no, looking at her with total disbelief at how unpredictable she was. She asked if it was a nightmare. I just pulled her close, burying my face in her shoulder, feeling lost. Did I really want to leave? In my head, I scrolled to the very final item in the shop. Gently stroking her hair, I leaned in and pressed my forehead against hers, watching her eyes crinkle into happy crescents. She playfully asked if I wanted a kiss. "No," I replied, making her frown. She blinked, tilting her head to repeat the question, asking if I really did not want to kiss her. Maybe next time. I kept building mental walls, reminding myself that she was just a character in a virtual world. It was still early. I told her to sleep while I grabbed breakfast, the usual 3 buns and sweet porridge, plus 2 extra eggs. But as Seraphina headed out, a sudden wave of sheer panic washed over her. She spun back to look at me on the couch. I was staring right back. She softly said she was leaving. I told her to be careful. The second the door clicked shut, I grabbed an unopened can of soda. Numbly, I popped the tab. It must have been shaken, because the sweet liquid violently sprayed everywhere. Sticky liquid splashed over my fingers, dripping steady onto the floor. Right away, this sharp, sweet and sour scent filled the room. Besides, Seraphina isn't even that big of a deal. But somehow, without me even noticing, warm tears started rolling down my cheeks. If I leave a clone, he is going to look after Seraphina for me, right? There is still a month left. If you really can't stand the thought of leaving her, I don't care. Driven over the edge by the system's smug attitude, I yelled my command to exit. Everything around me started to melt away, and my mind crashed directly into pitch-black silence. This soul-tearing, brutal pain ripped through my entire chest. The system just told me to hang on, since I got what I paid for. It has to pull from the deepest parts of my soul to make a perfect copy of me. Damn it, why couldn't the system tell me that earlier? Since I am the host, your name is now Caspian. From today on, you are kind, bright, and deeply emotional. You are totally in love with a girl named Seraphina. You will give up everything for her, even your own life. Do not mess this up. Love her right. Love this crazy world for me. The system chimes in mission fully complete. Now look at this right in the middle of a completely busy, normal day. She suddenly feels this freezing chill. While waiting in line for breakfast, her chest suddenly tightened with a sharp, brutal ache. It felt suffocating. Like she was being torn apart. That dread quickly spread to her arms and legs, sinking deep into her bones. Moving faster than ever before, she bolted straight back home. The cold soda can slipped. Orange liquid bubbled and splashed across the floor. She could barely breathe. Gasping for air, she walked over to me, looking completely wiped out. Shaking all over, she reached out to check my pulse. My breath was incredibly faint, but still real. From inside the high-tech system space, I stared at the huge screen showing Seraphina, my face dead serious. You lied to me, Caspian. Why did you leave? What did I do wrong? The system flashed a warning villain blackening level 1. My physical body stayed in deep sleep. She slowly pulled out a kitchen knife. I am giving you 5 minutes. If you do not wake up, I am going with you. 5 minutes flew by, in what felt like a second. By the end, tears were streaming down her face. She held the blade tight, her arm shaking with pure terror. She lifted it up. Was my time in this world finally up? Is this how the story ends? Hey, Dad, come on over, let's grab some food together. I always thought I was the smart one. I thought every single step I took was perfectly planned out. But I really had no idea how this whole operation turned into such a total disaster. Ever since I met her, I became this total fool, making one dumb mistake after another. My brain kept telling me to pull back before it was too late. But the loud, rushing adrenaline in my veins completely blew right past my logic. It was like I lost all common sense. Turns out, everyone in this place was playing 3D chess. I never realized that using my future knowledge to rescue someone had already made my dad highly suspicious of me. How could she not notice? She just lied to herself, testing me over and over to see if I truly cared. But the deeper she dug, the more I seemed to pull away, forcing her to constantly lower her standards just to keep me around. Even if my affection was fake, she was totally fine with it. As long as I stayed, she would gladly let me lie to her forever. That last 5% of villain energy was just her refusing to let me go. Even that final drop was a test. From her questions, it was pretty obvious she was always going to find out the truth. For a while, I noticed some pretty weird patterns in my own behavior too. Every plan I made was full of holes. So, I knew that leaving this place would absolutely leave behind some clues she would easily pick up on. That is exactly why I made that last call to my dad. And guess what? My little gamble totally paid off. Family connection is a crazy thing. He rushed right over and found me passed out completely on the living room couch. But Seraphina caught onto a small mistake. If I had just gone to sleep naturally, why was my soda spilled all over the tile? Looking at the puddle slowly spreading across the floor. It had obviously just fallen. Did he have a medical emergency? Shaking all over, she leaned in close to check my breathing. It was weak, but definitely there. She did not want to believe it, but every single clue pointed to one horrible truth. Tears pouring down her face, she lifted the sharp blade high, ready to drive it right into her own chest. Right then, my dad showed up outside. But get this, I did not actually call him over to rescue me. There was no way she could ever bring herself to hurt me. She was just playing a high-stakes bluff to force me awake. My real plan was to keep her from doing something she couldn't take back, while my dad checked my vitals. Still asleep. Why? Over in the bedroom, Seraphina is sobbing quietly. So your real goal was just to reform me to guarantee your own survival? Is that it? Asking this, she points the sharp blade directly at her own heart. I bolt upright in shock. staring at the massive screen in pure panic. No system is online. Why is the clone swap taking so long? The system stays completely silent. It ignores me. Speak to me. Send the clone to save her. What is your motive? Then the system asks if I even remember why I wanted to go home. Hearing those words, my pupils instantly shrink. Suddenly, I am dragged down. A deep, heavy abyss of total confusion. Why? Why did I want to go back? In a complete daze, my desire for home vanishes into thin air. A massive wave of helplessness hits my heart. It feels like a heavy hammer slamming right into my skull. I fall straight to my knees. After a long, agonizing silence, I finally speak with cold sweat dripping down my face. Did you not say that working as an executive means all your real-world memories get completely wiped out? You have been constantly controlling my thoughts this entire time, right? What is your ultimate goal? Is it possible? Do my memories of the real world not even exist at all? Hold on, is it possible that my family, my friends, my Seraphina, and even my own existence are all fake? The system confirms it, yes. I am a liar. This entire mission was just a massive scam. You are smart, which is why I kept your mind heavily suppressed. Otherwise, you would have doubted me. You are my creation. Just a string of data that somehow gained consciousness. Seraphina is just code. Your father is code. This entire world is me. I have always looked down on you as a pathetic, cowardly, and arrogant creature. Yet, look how good Seraphina is to you. She is risking her life right now to bring you back. Why will you not open your eyes and look? You coward who refuses to face his own real feelings. The system's voice echoes relentlessly through the empty white space. My feelings are in absolute chaos. I end up curling into a tight ball in the corner, sobbing uncontrollably. The silence is incredibly heavy. Those words have completely shattered my remaining mental defenses. My entire worldview is shattered. Everything I had, everything I ever wanted, it is all a complete lie. A heavy feeling of absolute despair fills the space. What was even the point of my own existence? Was I just a toy for this machine to play with? I have lost completely. My entire identity is wiped out. After a long pause, the voice speaks again, Caspian. It is all fake, there is no real world. Go back. I got what I wanted. So your target was always my clone? Why did you not just extract them from the very start? You played me like a total fool. And now you are just throwing me back. Is this fun? Why bother if it's all fake? What is the point of love or hatred when it comes from a string of cold, lifeless data? I sit frozen in the corner, ready to just rot away for eternity, far from that tragic place. But then, a thought hits: the world is fake, but the love is real. I completely freeze. Something deep inside my soul is struck hard, and all my past memories start flashing wildly before my eyes. Through the days, I think I see Seraphina's silhouette. Her sleek, neat hair and her eyes curved into crescent moons, smiling warmly just like the start of our story. The system was absolutely right. I was a total coward. Once again, useless, heavy tears start rolling down my face. I try hard to hold them back, making my eyes sting terribly, but the system was right. Even if this world is fake and meaningless, the love I felt was completely real. I felt my heart skip its 101st beat during those shy, blushing days of our youth. I felt the deep, simple joy of sharing a warm bowl of noodles on a freezing winter afternoon. I felt the calm peace of walking through the evening breeze. Step by step, beautiful little ripples were forming in my heart, moment after moment. Most things in life have no grand meaning, but true love naturally defies any kind of logic. After all, we exist just to love. That love is real, which makes this world real. I have to go back. Someone is waiting for me out there. With tears streaming down my face, I sprint toward the giant screen like a madman. When we first met, I was so incredibly nervous and completely lost for words. But then, you simply walked up and reached out your hand. You squeezed my hand tightly and never let go. I got so used to you being right there beside me, gently looking after my fragile, sensitive heart. Our life has such a beautiful opening scene. I want so desperately to sit and watch it with you until the morning sun rises. I want to spend a quiet evening writing this sweet melody, just to sing it directly to you. I want to tell you that your love sweetens my entire world. The exact second I crash through the screen, that familiar, blinding pain tears through me once again. It felt like something was ripped from my body. But get this, I did not care. I just charged forward. Then boom, everything went white. And look at this, right as Seraphina raised that sharp blade, stealing her resolve to end it all, a hand shot out and grabbed her wrist. Telling her I was back made her freeze, before she absolutely broke down into loud, agonizing wails. Years of hidden pain burst out like a shattered dam. Then I looked down and saw her holding a warm bowl of porridge and some eggs. "Eat up," she whispered. "Just porridge and eggs, because I had no time for the buns. She asked if she should heat it up. Honestly, seeing her hold that simple breakfast completely broke me. Throwing my arms around her, I sobbed, screaming that I loved her, and did not care if my memories were even real. It does not matter if this whole world is a fake lie. I was never supposed to exist anyway, and I never owned anything. But I have you now. We are going to stay together, I promise. This song is only for you.